Hey y'all. Welcome back to another conversation with Coco. I am your host, Coco. Welcome to a very special episode of Conversations with Coco. It's a very special occasion because we're going to be reviewing something that was an interview where the interviewee was Umar Johnson. We'll get to my sentiments about Umar Johnson later, but let me add Amanda so she can tell y'all, hey, where we can find you, anything happening, how's life?
Oh my God, life is life, and I'm doing this parenting thing through the summer, and I be forgetting how much my
Ooh.
kid be talking. So that's a whole thing. But other than that, I am doing good. Everybody is healthy. Everybody is blessed. Um, you can find me. My handle is Miss Anlin Diva across everything at this point: Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. My podcast is Miss Diva's podcast, streaming on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's pretty much it. I'll be on there kicking and cutting up and doing what we do without any
Absolutely.
community guidelines. So, how
Let
are you
me
doing,
let me
Coco?
listen as well as I can be, okay? Because the way life is lifing and my mental health is mental healthing.
Right. That.
Listen, but as y'all knows, I am on the medication and we're just hold on, I'm trying to get TikTok involved in the conversation.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have done this earlier. But yeah, I've been on medication. This week was my first week of an increase in my medication.
Okay.
Um,
How you
the
feel?
more time I'm on medication, the longer I realize, like, girl, I wasn't finna self care. I wasn't finna girl boss. I wasn't finna super black woman, black girl magic my way out of a chemical imbalance in my brain.
Right.
There are just some things that are beyond me and my capabilities,
Yeah.
and
You got to do
I
what's in the
need
best
to just.
interest.
Girl, I also forgot I had therapy last week.
Oh, how'd that go?
So started therapy because my psychiatrist was like, "Girl, you need to be in therapy. Girl,
Um,
you need to talk to somebody." So we did that, and she gonna make me deep dive into my traumas. And you know what? I'm gonna just have to get ready. It's either I get ready or I stay in
is
shambles.
hey,
So, girl,
we're
I
here
don't
to
know. I'm
support you.
gonna be
We
in shambles.
we love you through these internet streets. You know the little crew. We all be
Thank
going through
you. I
stuff,
know
so nothing
y'all
but positive
always got
energy.
my back.
Oh yeah, I'll
Y'all
be
be
ready to
like,
snap out.
get your shit together.
Remember the last time
So,
I had to snap? It's just like, wait a minute, who you talking to?
listen,
I hope
I
that don't.
often think about that and I'd be like, wow,
I hope that don't happen again because
really
like
tried it.
the way that I was about to come through this phone, it was like real quick. Are you calling government names? Real quick. Do you have a tone? Real quick. Do you want these problems? Because I don't like your tone. Your tone's
I
coming off very weird.
I
You was
really
like, Amanda.
was just
And I was like, okay.
flabbergasted at what was transpiring before my eyes. And I was like, not you trying to try it in my home.
Not you had to call me down. You was like, hold up real quick. Because this about to go
Like,
real
hold
left.
on. I
That's
had to
just
calm myself down first because I'm like, I'm real nuck if you buck. So
for no reason. We still be ready to knock if you butt like we got the same
like, look,
needs. I
I'm
don't
I'm healed
understand.
to a certain point, but uh,
I
like
don't do
it's love and
disrespect.
light, but don't do it.
I don't do
Find something
disrespect.
else to play with, possibly something safer, because I am not safe.
Being on TikTok has allowed me to realize that the disrespect that black women get and receive is a very big trigger for me. And I'm aware, I've said this on your shows before, I'm very aware that I'm happy to be in spaces with educated black women where I can learn from. And in that moment, I was like, I don't even know how long law school is. However, your tone towards this black woman that went to law school is making me feel real defensive, and you not gonna talk to her crazy. So
Like,
change your tone.
like, I don't think this is not the circle for that.
Yeah, this is
It's not
not
the
that
circle for
circle.
that. No, it's not the circle for that.
No,
Mm-mm.
not at all. But let's talk about your cousin Jamal,
Let's
aka Dr.
listen.
Umar.
We gonna get to Umar in a second because I feel like I needed to have some disclaimers before we get into this video.
All right.
But I did want to start out this stream with an exercise.
Okay.
So a while back, the boys were so upset with me.
About what?
I said something they didn't like, and they
Oh,
cried and
oh.
cried and cried and
We should have sent them
cried. And
some
I was
tissues.
like, okay, do you want some tissue? You prefer Kleenex, puffs, organic? What's going on?
Look.
Um, so I made an assertion, and one day we'll have to go back over all of the happenings of that, rehash everything out. But I said, black men as a whole are failing. And they didn't like that, even though the video was 3 minutes long and that was like one sentence out of all the things I said for 3 straight minutes. But I digress. So following that, I said, okay, let's do an exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about black men and let's divide them into 3 categories.
Mm-hmm.
And once we get a clear understanding of what those categories are, I say we take a sample size of 10 and let's just guesstimate, educatedly, how many black men out of those 10 black men would go into each of these categories.
Using logic.
Here we are again. Yes. So I said, to me, there are 3 types of black men. There are good black men, there are problematic black men, and there are neutral black men. So I wanted us to do a little exercise today, and let's just, write down some things in these categories. I said, let's do behaviors, belief systems, sentiments, and let's put them in these categories. And once we have, at least I would say 5 is good for now. It's a living, breathing document for me. I did study sociology in college. So, things have to be updated for me because society moves, it ebbs and flows. Things change, things, they can be conserved, So, it's a living, breathing document. So I think we just, go into each of these and just pick out 5 things that you would think, or I would think, or if y'all want to chime in the comments, be it on TikTok or YouTube, let's go over these things and let's input some things that you would say is indicative of a problematic black man. Okay. Let me go ahead and Canva and open up a text box. Let's do it.
Let's do that.
Love to see it. All right.
Not the church.
So when you think of problematic behaviors that are exhibited in our community by some black men, because that's also it's not all men.
It's not all men.
It's not all men. So we're actually gonna look at all men right now.
Right.
Let's do it.
Not all men.
Not all men.
Hashtags.
All right. So I think we can make a big list out of this one, but let's just do a 5 for now. We'll come back to it at a later date. I'm a little bit anal, so I gotta make sure it
stays updated in case somebody comes back and they need a refresher about what was discussed.
Make sure my text matches. We love a coordinated sheet. Hello, Professor. So, what are some things, just spitballing, that you would say is problematic? I would just go ahead and put domestic abuse and violence. Ooh.
And do a slash essay, I guess, because that would be considered.
Oh, I think that's its own thing.
That's its own. Okay.
People are trying to ask for my presence on TikTok. No. Let's just do and we're gonna I can't.
You get too many tabs open over there, Coco. 3 tabs and a stream on TikTok.
Right. Okay, so we have 2: domestic abuse and violence,
Mm-hmm.
R is sexual assault of Black women and children.
Correct.
Anything else? I would just say
Um,
misogyny. Let's just go ahead and put that on there.
yes.
We're almost done. Look at us doing good. What's that for
It was
us?
one
Ooh, the professor said speaking misinformation
that part, and
about Black women. That is.
I was gonna say lacks motivation, because unless it's something they are itching to jump into like a warm hole, they most likely are not motivated to do anything productive. But that's just my opinion.
Girl, why can't I type today?
Girl, because you tired, honey. It's Sunday.
All right.
Funday.
It is. And I got my emergency bottle of wine.
Girl, I'm
Y'all thought
up
I
here
was gonna
trying
do
to.
Umar without some liquor. I don't. If y'all are wondering, this is a Cherokee Rosé from
Ooh.
the good people at what is it, Chateau Elon in Georgia. Go
Oh.
ahead if you would like to go visit. It was a nice trip, and the wine is delicious. They do ship, so you can order online. So I'm actually gonna crack open this bottle. I got this over a year ago.
Over a year
What
ago.
am I waiting for? All right, let's do this. Let me look out of here. No, just this one. And which one are you? Okay. All right. So I actually would like to go over to the good men first, actually.
Okay.
Because I don't think we're gonna get 5 for neutral, but I think
I think I
we'll
actually
find
have
some.
5 good ones for neutral. But go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Because I was gonna come up with one.
Yeah.
All right. So
I
what
think
will
I
be our
got some.
first behavior, belief system, or sentiment held by good Black men?
A respectful communicator.
Respectful.
Because someone be communicating a bunch of bull and be like, I was trying to talk, but you was disrespectful, and that's why wasn't nobody trying to hear you. So like, I feel like
I
a
will
good
say
man.
respectful communication with all. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because there are some men that know how to behave with certain people and not others. So
Oh
I would
yes.
say also community minded.
Mm-hmm.
Minded and socially aware.
Yeah.
I would say that. What else? Well, I was gonna say treat people as human beings, but would that go with respectful communication or would that be its own thing?
I feel like that'll be his own thing, like
Okay.
having empathy for others outside themselves.
Okay.
Girl, I'm trying to figure out why my neighbor got such heavy feet. Like, sir. Like,
Not heavy feet.
no, as you're typing, all I hear is doom, doom, doom. Sir,
Oh my goodness.
you got an infant in your house. Why are you walking so loud?
I can't. Okay. So we need 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
I would say values family.
I can agree with that. Values family. Is consistent with their
Ooh.
actions.
Listen. We don't put that at the top.
I'm just saying, I'm in a little situation currently that made me realize why I'm still single and probably will stay that way, because right now you got one time to cut up. You can go one
One.
time. So
All
being
right.
consistent is
So,
very important. Well, in my opinion.
mm-hmm. Okay. So the middle column.
Okay.
Mm.
So for me, a neutral dude is one who is aware but won't stand up and say nothing about it. Like, I'm trying to figure out the way to word it. Like, they're aware that there's problems going on,
Aware.
but they don't want to shake no tables. They don't want to
I
like
will
address
say
the
aware
issue.
of problematic be of problematic black aware of problematic
Issues.
community issues and refuses to participate in counteracting.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Um,
I would say
because we was talking about it, I was getting ready to say a TikToker's name, and it was like, let me not do that.
ooh,
Because I was just
don't do that, honey. Don't talk about nobody up here,
no, no, no,
okay?
no, no,
We
no,
ain't
no,
to
no,
no
no, no.
Beetlejuice
I
around
was getting
here.
ready. I forgot we was live because I was getting ready to use somebody as an example, but
Yeah, we
I don't want no beef
live.
with nobody. Um,
You can just type it in the private chat.
Girl, it ain't that deep. It ain't that deep. I just realized I don't want to say that name or whatever. But anywho, do you know how you'll see guys? I guess I can use TikTok as an example. You'll see guys who'll be like, "Oh yeah, I can see that's a problem," but they're indecisive about their decision making skills.
Oh,
Like,
dude.
I've seen some men be like, "Yeah, I can see how that's a problem, but
Oh,
I'm still hanging with the
they're
bros."
apologists. They're
Yeah,
apologists. Okay. Apologists and empathizers
with the bad behavior.
with problematic. Is that empathizers even a word? Well, empathizes. Okay. With problematic black men.
You
I
asking
would
me?
say they value their manhood over other people's personhood.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
Um, See, the thing is, it's like they're not like actively anything. They're
Right. They're
not
just
actively fucking things up, but they're like not doing anything good either.
right. They're just a space existing
I
and
guess
watching
they
it.
just exist
Mm-hmm.
and don't contribute to the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they're
I would
also just
also say they lack motivation and ambition. I guess
right.
that's included in they just exist and don't contribute.
Yeah, because a lot of them don't want to address the problematic, and if they do, they address it in a way that caters to the problematic male ego, so that they don't
Mm,
get attacked. But then they're also
yeah,
not helping the good men, to address the problematic behavior. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
they're really cautious about what they say because they still want to stroke the male ego of the problematic men because they have being
They're
male in common.
cautious.
Yeah, they're cautious.
Girl, can we not spell today?
Girl, that's what
Damn,
spell
all
check.
these hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education.
Look, that's what we got spell check for. You got your degrees and you know every effing thing, okay? So it's fine. Mm-mm.
So it's not all men, but I think we can,
We can
education
start.
deduce how many of y'all it is.
Yeah.
This is just with 5 things.
Yeah.
So I would say just we're gonna guesstimate. We're gonna hypothesize. This is not, serious. So I mean we have eyes, we have experience, we have education.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took any 10 Black men, just plucked them out the community, no matter where they are, just plucked them out. How many of them would you say exhibit problematic behavior? I will also say that I don't know if I have to say this,
but you might need to.
I might need to. If you exhibit at least one of the problematic behaviors, you are problematic. I don't care if you have qualities in the other columns. If you do anything that exists in the problematic column, you're problematic.
Right.
Now, if we're going to go to the neutral and the good, I mean, I would say if you have 2 or more of the neutral, you're probably neutral.
Right.
Because some of y'all are, well, I take care of my family. I take care of my kids.
They're very individualized. Oh, put that in there too. Oh, wait a minute. We need to add another one.
Well, we did the good Black men, the community minded. So I guess if you're not community minded and socially aware, we got to find somewhere for you to be in the middle or on the other.
Individualized is the problematic. We needed to add a tab because they only speak about that one good homeboy that work at Pepsi, and he done been there for 10 years and he got benefits and he got 1.5 kids, and you know what? That's a good nigga right there. Okay. Like they talk about him, and oh my God, I got the best story for that. But anyway,
so if I'm just gonna pluck out 10 Black men from the community and saying that we get a good mix, how many would you say fall under the problematic category?
I would say at least 5 of them.
At least 5 of them. Damn. Okay, so let me consult my paper notes. Down a P for problematic, an N for neutral,
and G for
good. Okay, so problematic, we have 5. Wow. So those of us following along at home, kids, that leaves 5 of them left.
On a decent day, I feel like it is a strong 3.5 that sit in neutral because they don't want to argue on the internet. That sounds bad. It's a good 3 point. Well, we can't half a man. I mean, we can, but you get my point. It's like, let's just round it up to 3. It's like it's a strong 3 in that neutral box, and I know off the top of my head 2 good Black men who are extremely consistent and community minded and supportive and will defend not just their family but defend other families as well. So I would say 2 in the good Black men, 3 in the neutral, and 5 in the problematic, which means the problematic still outweigh the good men.
But see, okay, math. This is simple math, for me at least. I'm not a mathematician. But if we're doing simple percentages, 5 out of 10 would be 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's a lot to take on.
Big yikes. And that's for the problematic Black men.
Yeah.
So half of y'all just woo.
According to this stuff,
it's not set in stone. So don't fight me. We're
we are really just, these are just talking points to come back and we can build on later.
All right. Neutral, 30%, 3 out of 10. Mm-hmm. That's a third of y'all that just opt out of everything.
Yeah, because it don't apply to them, or they know that they homeboy is trash, and they know that Gerald ain't doing what he need to do, but because he's not participating in that problematic behavior and it's just homeboy Gerald, then they be like, oh, that's not me.
Because when's the last time your homeboy saw his churn, and when's the last time you asked about them churn?
They don't ask about them kids. They be like, that's none of their business. They will none of their business that real quick.
So that leaves us with 20%. Wow. 1/5. Wow. So, like, when we have conversations about choose better, who the fuck are we choosing better?
Hey, listen.
Because them 2, I bet you them 2, I bet you they already got a wife.
They're already married. Yeah. The
And
good
I
men
mean, some
that
of
the
y'all
good
in the
men.
neutral about Macon got wives too, but they the ones that with their wives at home changing diapers and shit.
Right. But even like with the good men that I was talking about, literally the ones that popped in my head are already married, have been consecutively married for 5 or plus years. There hasn't been any rumors of infidelity or cheating or anything that would publicly humiliate their partner where they come back and be like, you ain't over that yet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the men that I'm talking about, I know a few who have been married since I was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Or they grew up with me, like my childhood best friend. I just realized he'd been married for 10 years. I said, you was one of the biggest hoes
Ooh,
out there. And you've been married for
not
10.
the bitch.
Congratulations. I didn't even realize it's
Damn.
been that long. I was like, you got married? What is going on?
Listen,
And I just realized, I was like, he decided in that moment that that woman was who he wanted to be with. And they had a church wedding. I was there. I cried. And they just posted up talking about it's our 10-year anniversary. I was like, I love y'all. But he
her.
decided then he was gonna be a good dude to stand by his wife and them kids. And that's what he ended up doing.
I'm
So
glad you said that because honestly, everything on this I was gonna say sheet of paper. It's not a sheet of paper, but it could be
it is a
on this
document.
screen is a choice.
Correct.
And that's one thing I really want to hammer into y'all's heads, especially you male identified women.
Mm-hmm.
All of their behaviors, be it good behavior, neutral behavior, or problematic behavior, is all a choice.
Correct.
And women don't really have, actually, we don't have nothing to do with that shit.
Right. Whatever
This a grown ass
choice.
man.
Yeah,
This a
whatever
grown ass
choice.
man.
The same way they yell about us um being accountable and holding other women accountable. I had told somebody the other day, a friend of mine, I said, because we were talking about exactly what me and you were going to talk about. I brought up the fact of um I said I wish there were more conversations like the one that we're going to be discussing. I said because you can't sit back and individualize what you do and then say that this entire group of women that look like you are the problem without individualizing those women's situation. I was like, we can't come on now. Like, oh, I do this. I'm not in charge of the rest of them. So how are you grouping all black women into one thing? Like, how does that work? How do you come to that? And my homegirl was like, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I said, I don't think that was the right analogy. I was like, I think that if they wanted to do better, they would. And they
And
don't.
would.
And they
And
don't.
don't.
It's become easier. It's become easier to point the finger and blame and blame and blame. And because of the mindset that they've watched the uncles and the granddaddies and the great granddaddies do, it's easier to place blame and it's easier to spread that negativity with social media. How are y'all saying it's all black women or all single mothers? But then you don't say nothing about the absentee fathers. You don't group those. So it's just like you got to pick and choose. I said I don't.
Especially when we get to that, because even if
Yeah.
we didn't even do that, it's like if you're going to compare single mother households to two parent households and say that it's worse, it's like even if you didn't take a deep dive, well, duh, it's one versus two.
Right.
Like what in what world does one win over two? If I have $1 and you have $2, you have more than me.
Right.
Do
You're
they think
absolutely
well, they
right.
do think that one person can do the job of two parents? No, that's not ever going to happen. And that's just illogical to think that it would happen. And
Right.
I'm starting to think they kind of slow. But I digress. Let's move on.
It's not even that I don't think. I think that they are very aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it and how it's being delivered. And they feel like if they say it loud enough and long enough and strong enough that they'll be able to force people to believe in them. But the problem is coming in at the fact that other demographics are now so tired of hearing the rhetoric, not just black women, but other demographics, male and female, are so sick and tired of hearing about it that now they're using their podcast microphones they got from Jeff Bezos' plantation and they're speaking on it as well.
Not Jeff Bezos' plantation.
Hey,
Ugh.
I want to know his numbers for them podcasts. I want to know his numbers for those microphones because I'm not playing these games. Because Jeffrey owes the Black woman community some money for selling them podcasts through the panorama. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Other people are saying stuff. White women are saying stuff. Latina women are saying stuff. Asian women are saying stuff. The white men are stepping out and saying stuff. And
Look, they snitching on themselves.
yeah. Did you see the TikTok where the guy was like talking to I think it was a white woman and a Hispanic woman, and I think they both date or deal with black men. And the black guy was like, "Oh honey, you're white, you still have a chance. Don't deal with us, we're trash." And I said, "Excuse me, wait a minute. You're not gonna act like you just said what you said when the way you said it. You're not gonna do that. What do you mean you're telling another demographic of women that y'all are not nothing, that you're trash? But then if black women say the exact thing that came out your mouth, y'all hate us. Y'all are bashing us. Y'all hate us. What?
And then if they gonna say that, I'll refer back to the list. Y'all can back it up. Look at the behaviors and sentiments and thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
Are we? Do we hate y'all, or do we see y'all for who y'all are? And with that being said, we're gonna move on because we gotta talk about this Dr. Umar situation.
Oh my god.
That's the only time I'm gonna call him Dr. Umar on this bitch. Anywho,
Listen.
I want to just preface this entire rest of this stream by saying this is going to be a very, very biased position. Okay,
it really is.
I am not here to be neutral. I could give a fuck. I could not give one less fuck. I don't like this man. I think he is a misogynist. I think he is a womanizer. I think that he is not truthful. And I don't like him. And I haven't liked him since I became aware of him in undergrad when I was doing my thing with the Black Student Union. I don't like this man. He don't like women. And yeah, I feel like he is kind of delulu and cuckoo and crazy. And that's just what it is. Is a broken clock right twice a day? Yeah. But outside of that, because even when he was speaking facts, it was still laced with the shit that makes me not like him. So, correct. I mean, we're going to break it down and everything. So, also the podcasters themselves, look, I'm sorry. Everybody on the screen is getting dragged.
Everybody on the podcast is
every single person is getting fucking dragged. That's just what it is for today. But I would like to appreciate them for putting this in segments.
Right.
Kudos to y'all, bitch. And we're just gonna go segment by segment. I have not watched all of this. All I've seen are clips. So this is my fresh mind. So in order to keep me on task, we're just gonna go segment by segment. Okay. I'm gonna take my notes. Then we're gonna debrief. We'll give about 60 seconds just to get out our original thoughts. Okay. We'll have time to go back and forth a little bit. But yeah, it's like a 2-hour, little situation. So we're gonna be here. I think I'll put it on 2 times, or not 2 times. Oh, that's too fast. Right. 1.25. If that's too fast,
no. That'll be fine. That'll be
okay. Fine. If it's too slow, let me know.
Yeah. No, I was trying to share.
My brain's going fast, but I'm gonna be writing, so maybe I won't be as fast. But yeah, at this point, I'm going to say goodbye to TikTok. If y'all want to join me, we're over here on the YouTubes, and we're actually finna get into some mess. Okay, I'm really dragging everybody by the hair plugs and the knee extensions.
Not the knee extensions.
Yeah, I said it. Bye, TikTok.
Bye, TikTok.
All right, y'all. Let me put on y'all don't get facial expressions for me today. I'm letting y'all know this right now. And if I start, Ari, hi.
Where's she at? Ari.
I am. I'm not feeling my best, but y'all not answering me in the comment section.
Oh. He ain't making no damn school. And ain't.
Oh Lord.
He's not making no school.
He's not.
Why his
Listen,
so tight?
I think there's a little blurb at the end where he talks about the school, and I'm really
I turned that off. I turned that off. I didn't even watch the whole thing.
Man. He's getting
I was trying to
by
share the link YouTube and forgot I'm in Facebook jail.
Not Facebook jail. Oh my God.
Mark's a hater. I just want to throw that out there. Mark's a hater.
Okay.
Stay in Facebook jail.
Okay, let me see how far in. Okay, about 4 minutes. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just keep my cursor over here. Let me put myself on mute.
All right, I'm muting too.
Yeah, me too.
Let me know if y'all can hear the audio, or if not, if there's an issue, let me know.
Okay.
Got my good brother right here, who's an advocate, and he says that you can be pro-black and date outside.
Impossible. You cannot. Marriage is a business. When you get married, you commit your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, and your pocketbook, your savings, your estate, your wealth. You commit that to that person you're married to. See, when you marry, you don't marry an individual.
Lord
you marry
Jesus.
into a race. You marry into a community. So I didn't marry a Jewish woman. I married into Jewish society. I didn't marry an Asian woman. I married into an Asian family.
Did I miss the intro, or was that the intro?
That was the intro, but what a state. What a state.
Wait.
Do we need to know? Do we need to hear an introduction? We already know.
No, I feel like we do, so that we
I
can.
thought I was gonna get eased into it, honey. I thought we was gonna take it slow.
Right.
I want to say this. I never believed this man had a PhD until I went on a Google search and somebody decided to spend the money to get the transcript to show that he did in fact have a PhD. I don't remember the name of the school. It's not a name that I've ever heard of.
Probably ICDC College.
Girl, put y'all are on mute y'all. We're not doing.
I'm just being honest.
Stop.
I'm just being honest. I've never heard of the school. I've never believed in this man. If you are a school psychologist and you're telling Black people do not get your kids tested because they're going to put them in special ed, and that's not how that works. But, but you're the school psychologist, so you would be the one that would be testing them. So I'm confused. You would make sure that these kids wouldn't go into special education. So I'm gonna put myself on mute. I'm sorry.
Look, he went to ICDC
I'll catch y'all in a couple minutes. I'm gonna catch y'all in a couple minutes here.
Shout out. Hold on, wait a minute. Do I look crazy? Oh shoot, hold on. All right, I just want to make sure I don't look crazy. Okay, all right, okay. It's a t-shirt, but we making it work. Okay, all right. I'm gonna shut up. Even if I make faces, just ignore me because it's just this man stresses me out.
The camera is going to be off for me just in case I need to blow my nose or something, and because I know I'm gonna make tons of faces at this man.
I feel like you should get on camera just so that we can get the faces.
I really want to meet this man in person. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have so many questions I would love to ask him, but the rule would have to be he could not talk over me, and I know that he doesn't know how to do that.
He don't have it,
especially not with a woman.
No, this is why I do things over the internet. I'm too liable to swing.
I just feel like, should we take a deep breath and like inhale and exhale before we do this? Because it's just like
I should have brought my sage.
Look, we ain't got no sage, but I got some Febreze.
I'm gonna act a fool and go get that shit.
Look, I ain't got no sage, but we got some Febreze. So we'll make it work.
My damn singing bowl. If it gets too deep and I really do need an energy adjustment, I might actually go get something because I already got my emergency bottle of wine, but I don't know, bro. I don't know why I agreed to sit through 2 hours of this man talking, but you know what? Here we are.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it now.
We're muted. All right, we're muted.
Got my good brother right here, who's an advocate, and he says that you can be pro-black and date outside.
Impossible. You cannot. Marriage is a business. When you get married, you commit your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, and your pocketbook, your savings, your estate, your wealth. You commit that to that person you're married to. See, when you marry, you don't marry an individual. You marry into a race. You marry into a community. So I didn't marry a Jewish woman. I married into Jewish society. I didn't marry an Asian woman. I married into an Asian family. There's no way you can claim to love Black people, especially as a Black man, knowing that only 1 out of every 4 Black women will get married in her lifetime. We have the lowest female marriage rate in the country, 25%. That means 75% of Black women will never, ever know what it feels like to be proposed to.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Daily Wrap Up Crew. No Booker, I go by the name of Eli. As always, we got Ace with us.
Yes, indeed. You know who it is. It's the only podcast that's relevant. We got Umar on the show. It's Black Excellence. You know what I mean? Out here.
Okay, I respect that. Last but not least, we got Jew.
What it do? I'm here with my crew, Dr. Umar too. And if you don't like, share, subscribe, 100 lashes for you.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
I came prepared. Y'all was brainstorming.
You know what I'm saying? I had to, man. I had to write today. You know, Umar was pulling up.
Listen, man, we got special guests in the building. We got the Prince of Pan-Africanism, King Kong Consciousness. So y'all know the man. Dr. Umar Johnson.
Glad to be here, fellas. Thanks for inviting me.
And real quick, can you let the folks know that sleeping under a rock that might not know who you are?
Absolutely. Dr. Umar Ifatunde, certified school psychologist, doctor of clinical psychology, founder of the National Independent Black Parent Association, Team Pan-African, the international movement for the independence and protection of African people. I'm probably most known for helping Black parents learn how to protect their children from the special education crisis in the ADHD to prison pipeline. Author of 2 books, Psychoacademic Holocaust, The Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys, as well as Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for dealing with America's public and charter schools. I'm also a Pan-Africanist, the Garveyite, and I'm currently putting the finishing touches on the first school in American history to be funded exclusively by the African diaspora, and that is the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy. If all goes well, we'll probably be having our community grand opening during Kwanzaa 2023.
Listen, before we get into these topics, you got to make sure we get an invite, man, so we can pull up.
For sure.
Before we get into these topics, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, join the YouTube membership, man. We got some exclusive behind-the-scenes footage, access to early episodes, and then cop the merch, man. Dailyrapupcrew.co, man. Make sure I go support. Listen, let me get to this first.
I ain't got no shirt for me.
Oh, definitely do.
Definitely
do.
2XL, don't give me no bra.
I told you. See?
You did.
I did. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it.
Listen, get into this first topic, right? I know you're very big with the Pan-African community. What is your ultimate goal that you have in mind for the overall Pan-African community?
Great question. The vision, the mission, the goal of Pan-Africanism is to unite all African people globally into one unified and organized system through which we can protect ourselves politically, economically, socially, culturally, spiritually, academically, so forth and so on. So unity is the foundation and independence is the elevation. That's the goal of Pan-Africanism, to make sure African people are not dependent upon members of other races in order to protect our lifestyle, our culture, and most of all, the destiny of our children. Do for self is the heart and soul of Pan-Africanism. So when we win, we will be in charge of our lives. We will control the banks. We will control the hospitals. We will control the criminal justice system. We will control the economy. We basically want a parallel world that is under our authority, because whoever controls your institutions controls your life.
Got you. So the big word that I heard was, unity, right? So what is your overall thoughts? Obviously, you can see that we have this gender war going on, this diaspora war going on. What's your thoughts on those overall wars that's going on within the Pan-African community?
I would not be surprised if we learned 20, 30 years from now that the domestic gender war was inspired by the FBI, just as the FBI gave birth to COINTELPRO back in the 70s and 60s to disrupt and destroy the credibility and success of Black liberation movements. I could very well see where COINTELPRO or something similar to it could have also been invented to turn the Black woman against the Black man and the Black man against the Black woman. If you look at this, it looks just like COINTELPRO, except it's not Stokely Carmichael fighting Huey P. Newton. It's not Dr. King, and Malcolm having differences. You understand? It's you and your baby's mother having differences. It's you and your fiance having differences. It's you and your wife having differences. And the family is an institution, no different than SNCC, no different than CORE, no different than the Panthers, no different than the Garvey movement, no different than the Freedom Riders. So I'm keeping an eye on it, but I really do believe that at some point, we're going to find out that the U.S. government had a hand in the gender wars and the promotion of it, because I don't think it's a coincidence that this Black male versus Black female gender war is being initiated at the very same time that the U.S. government is pushing transgenderism on elementary Black public school children. So is that a coincidence that while you're trying to disintegrate the Black family through non-traditional forms of life, through Black on Black crime, through police genocide, through poor nutrition, poor healthcare, all these weapons, the Snow Bunny crisis, along with that, you see so many commercials now where it's the Black man with the white woman or the Black woman with the white man. Clearly, there's an agenda to brainwash our children into either being with someone of the same sex or someone of another race. And I think the gender wars coming at this time plays into the hand of the government's agenda to destroy the Black community. On the other side, when we look at the diaspora wars, I think that's a CIA inspired situation. I wouldn't.
One is within the states, and
the other FBI doesn't have a charter to operate internationally. So if you want to disrupt locally, it's the FBI. CIA has no charter to operate domestically. So when the CIA interrupts, it's internationally. So the CIA is outside of America, FBI is inside of America. If you're a Pan-Africanist, like the Honorable Marcus Garvey, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, you're a Pan-Africanist, you're automatically going to be watched by the FBI domestically and the CIA internationally. And I think the diaspora wars plays right into the hand of America's foreign policy initiatives. There was a security memorandum that came out, I think it was in the late 70s, early 80s, where the U.S. government, private security memorandum that has now been published now, said the greatest threat to American foreign interests is what? The operational unity of Africans in America and Africans in Africa. This is the government. Our biggest threat is if we let the blacks on that side of the Atlantic Ocean organize.
This a memo?
Oh, it's a memo. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I could probably get you the numbers. It's not on the top of my head right now. Absolutely.
Right.
Some people have even published it in books. It's definitely on the internet. People have referred to it. So they basically said, in essence, Pan-Africanism is our only problem. They don't care about nothing else. People pushing religions, people pushing socialism. They don't care about that. Pan-Africanism is the only threat to white supremacy.
So
that's crazy.
So what would you say about, obviously when we talk about the diaspora world, there's a sense of, African people or Caribbean people using the word, well, I'm not black, you know what I mean? I'm Caribbean or I'm African or whatever the case is. And they kind of associate negativity or negative stereotypes with Black Americans per se. And they feel like they don't want to identify as black because black usually is the term that Black Americans call themselves. So I don't want to be identified as black, so I am Caribbean. It's like they're separate people over there. You know what I mean? So what's your thoughts on that whole, that divide and just that whole blatant negative stereotype that some Africans or Caribbeans or other black people feel towards Black Americans?
Well, the white man's original tactic of divide and conquer, separate and rule is still his most cherished weapon against African people. You see, understandably, when people look at America up until now being, quote unquote, the most powerful country in the world, if you want to get down with the most powerful country in the world, you're going to have to despise who they despise. And since America has done such a great job despising African people, anybody who wants to come to this country, even if they are African, are going to seek somebody else's company other than ours, right? That doesn't make what they do right. But we have to look at the fact that we as African people in America haven't done a whole lot collectively to make ourselves the power base we should be for all African people. With our education, with our income, being the richest group of African people in the world in terms of take-home pay, we should be the power base for African people throughout the world. Y'all need institutions, we're going to fund them. Y'all have a problem with your water, we're going to fund that. You understand me? You got a medical crisis, we're going to take care of that. We have the resources, we got the personnel, we got the expertise, we got the money. We should be the power base. So when an African comes to America from outside of this country, they say, well, wait a minute now. If I align myself with the African American, what is in that for me? Because I don't even see the African American doing anything for themselves on a collective basis. We have success, but
I can't.
Right? There's very few institutions that we run and control independently. Let's take it to Little League. When you go for the Little League football team or the basketball team, do you go try out for the team that's losing every year? Or do you want to be on a championship team? Most children want to be on a championship team. So when Africans from the diaspora come to America, they see two teams. The black team that has lost 157 straight Super Bowls since the end of slavery, right? And the white team that seem like they still winning and doing great. I want to align myself with the white team. Now, the mistake that Africans in the diaspora are making is that if you do not link up with us, your national homeland will never be free either. See, what they do to African people anywhere, they do to African people everywhere. So if you come from Nigeria, you come from Ghana, you come from Jamaica, you come from Turks and Caicos, you don't associate with African people, you go get you a snow bunny, move up on the west side, you can do all that. But understand, your life is only as sacred as white people allow it to be. At any minute, they can turn you into a Breonna Taylor, whether you have a U.S. passport or not. You've seen it happen here in New York City years ago with the Abner Louima and Amadou Diallo cases, where the police, abused African immigrants right here in New York City. So when it comes to white people, we're all African. They know who we are. But they will use one group against the other as long as it is in the best interest. And once they're done using that group, guess what they do to that group? They destroy them too. It's no difference than looking at the black community compared to black celebrities. They use Bill Cosby as long as they could. And when they no longer needed him, they turned on him. They'll use Whitney Houston as long as they could. When they no longer needed her, they murdered her. Michael Jackson, they murdered him. Prince, they murdered him. Jimi Hendrix, they murdered him. Kobe Bryant, they murdered him. You understand? So all of us are nothing but tools in the hand of white supremacy. We have to wake up from that nightmare, from that imaginary illusion of inclusion that has black people thinking, if I come to America, but stay away from African Americans, I'll be given probationary white status. You'll never be given probationary white status because you are not white. And when they're done using you for your intellectual knowledge, when they're done using you in the labor market, when they're done using you, helping to perpetuate the myth of a multicultural colorblind America, they'll bust you right back to the country you came from. All African.
Okay, real quick before we all go, my head already hurts. Y'all know how, like, in elementary school in math class, like, you would get credit for like having the right answer and the right word? I feel like Okay, I know. It's very traumatic, Venti. I know. That's crazy. Real wild. It's like sometimes you'll have the right conclusion, but how we got there was not. That's not how we got there. And sometimes we'll be going along the right path, but all of a sudden we take a sharp left, and I don't know how the fuck we ended up here. I'm confused. So I don't know who's gonna go first, but we're gonna have about 60 seconds to get your initial thoughts, and then we'll have some time to respond and such. Cause yeah, who would like to go first?
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, Coco and Mandy. I definitely skipped over this. I was like, what does this have anything to do with anything? I don't know what you're talking about. A question that came up in my mind when I was listening to him was like, how can we help others in the diaspora if we can't even help ourselves in the United States? Yeah, that's my question. But
Listen,
he loves to talk, and because these men are uneducated, he can steamroll this whole podcast, and they're gonna sit back and say, what he's saying is fire. What he's
it
saying
was
is
so
true.
deep.
That's facts.
It
That's
was so
facts.
deep. It was so deep. Here's my question. What political power do any of us, as they say, colored people have to make some type of change and build some type of infrastructure that would allow us to be able to provide for other Black people in the diaspora? You ain't even got to that.
You want the 13% of people in the United States to provide for an entire continent, and then global people in the diaspora as well.
Listen, he love to hear his own voice.
This
That's what that
school should have been
doesn't
open a long time ago, and now he's talking about
like 10 years
Kwanzaa
ago.
2023.
Like 10 years
It
ago.
still ain't gonna be open.
It ain't.
I don't even know where to begin. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. My notes are just jumbles of mess. I feel like I'm gonna abandon these hoes at some point. But
what sense does this make? None
we
of this makes
really
any
need
sense.
to talk about Negroes' overinflated sense of self. You really think the FBI gives a fuck about the gender war that y'all think is in y'all head? Y'all really think that the CIA is spending their money and time creating diaspora wars? I really want us to be fucking for real at some fucking point. I need us to be fucking for real.
It's just like this other little scrawny dude who looked like he Urkel first cousin on TikTok when he was like, it's Black women who started the gender war. And I was like, let me listen.
First of all, the people that started the gender war should be the people that y'all are putting your energy towards. Y'all haven't even gotten to that portion of the conversation.
But
the gender war is patriarchy, and you are losing at patriarchy.
But it's
you were never supposed to win at patriarchy. Quaz is kept.
The thing
your role in the patriarchy is tool. Underclass.
They don't even get that. That patriarchy is using them to fuel the foolishness. Because I think the way the man said it was like, oh, back in 2007 or something. He had a whole like.
You talking about the guy that blocked me?
He had a whole monologue, and he was like, if Black women hadn't asked why Black men choose white women, there wouldn't be a gender war.
Oh, the man that blocked me.
Please be fucking for real.
Oh, I sent it to you. Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, so 2 + 2, I promise you every time equals 4. But at what point did you get 2 + 2 = triangle? How?
You see what I'm saying? Something's always off.
2 + 2.
But the only other question that I had is, why is this man never in no African clothes?
Never. And he talks so fast, and because they live
right, I'm like, well, they say, why are these segments aren't segmenting?
Right, he talks so fast, and they listen so slow that it's like he's talking, and I'm sitting here like, the FBI, the CIA, the what, sir? Even if that was true, I am on season 7, episode 2 of Scandal again, and I'm telling you that ain't what they worried about. That ain't what they worried about.
At all.
It's
really a mess. But I'm just gonna do my own segments. We're gonna let it roll for a while, and then I'm just
All right, babe.
Whenever he has a stopping point of subjects, I guess we'll pause.
Look, that's how we need to screenshot this right here because that's how I see him every time they bring up his name.
His mouth wide open.
Wide
no
open with that
reason.
finger pointed,
Just
not
talking.
knowing what's going on.
Oh my God. Why did I sign up for this?
Okay.
Oh, dude. Okay.
All right. We
I'm
gotta
pausing.
mute,
I'm pausing. I'm muting the mic.
Okay.
I'm gonna try.
African people in America who are not practicing Pan-Africanism are simply tools that are being used that have an expiration date. And when your utility to the white power structure expires, you will too, and they will send you back home. And this is why they hate blacks in America so much, the white power structure. We're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be sent home.
Right.
You cannot be deported. Slavery destroyed your cultural, psychological, and intellectual connection to your ancestral homeland. If the Ghanaian get on your nerve, he go back to Ghana. If the Puerto Rican gets on your nerves, he go back to Puerto Rico. If the Afro-Cuban gets on your nerves, he or she go back to Cuba, right? If the Chinese get on your nerves, send them back to China. If the East Indian gets on your nerves, send them back to India. If the Arab gets on your nerve, send them back to one of the Middle Eastern states. But when American Africans get on your nerves, where do you deport us to? You can't deport us.
Yeah.
Slavery destroyed that connection that they needed in order to remove us.
Did this nigga in the background say Canada? Did this Negro in the background say Canada? No.
Somebody said Canada?
Nah. Run this
it
back.
Run it back. Because he forgot about
one of the
people
Middle
that
Eastern
was
states.
here.
But when American Africans get on your nerves, where do you deport us to? You can't deport us.
Yeah.
Slavery.
That fool said Canada. He said Canada. I bet you he a Tory Lane supporter too.
Oh, for sure.
I bet you he believed that Tory don't deserve what he got. He sound like one of them.
Absolutely.
I cannot.
We're going to Canada. We got off of a boat. We were put on a boat in shackles, sent to the Americans, and we were sent to America to work on these lands. And when they get tired of us, they're going to send us to Canada, a place that wasn't even created when we got shipped over here. Okay, that makes sense.
My throat is parched from this foolishness. Glad I have a lot of clothes to fold while we're interacting so that I can listen and remain calm. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? These Negroes.
Again, when I heard that, I went down and I skipped to the next segment. I was like, okay, and we're gonna go to the next one.
Okay.
Because I don't understand what that means.
I don't. He does all this talking. He does all of this talking because I genuinely believe that he knows that they're not even smart enough or cognitive enough to go look for the research themselves.
And this is why he will not go back on like a show like Roland Martin, because he knows that Roland Martin and anybody that's on his show also have degrees that they actually work really hard to get. They skate by.
Right.
And they're going to give him evidence to debunk everything that he says. So he can't go on shows like that. So what he chooses is shows like this, where he knows that the IQ is not IQing. The critical thinking skills are not as critical as we would like them to be.
Right.
Because he knows they're going to sit here and listen.
Right.
That's what it is.
I just...
He knows his audience.
He knows that all he got to do is say certain words in a certain tone. And because, again, he likes to hear the sound of his own voice. And he's talking so fast. Like, we all sitting over here like, what? Like, what did they have to do with the original question?
First off, the guy doesn't know how to ask questions. Because that question was 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
So, of course, Umar decided, you know what? I don't even care what the fuck he said at this point. I'm going to just go ahead and say what I've been wanting to say. Because this is his talking point. Like, this is what he talks about often.
Yep.
So, this is what you get. He's Pan-African, guys, okay?
Take my hand, leave me on. Because we got to have some type of Negro spiritual in here. Because it does not make...
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
He's still doing the same stuff.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. No, this nigga Bruce in Canada.
He said Canada.
He said Canada.
He said Canada.
Like
With his
Canada
whole
is
chest.
any better than America, but okay. You know,
Oh
we
my
can go to Canada, I guess.
This is why I said they all getting dragged. This is ridiculous. Let me play some more.
Hold on,
We're
and
already hour in. My bad.
Before we go, I want to say this one thing.
Ooh.
Canada only wants the best from the countries that are surrounding it.
Correct.
And I think if it's not Canada, I know like Japan does this. If you don't have a degree, 9 times out of 10, they're not letting you in.
And
Because they need to see that you can do work.
Whew.
Black man, you're not going to Canada.
Oh my God. Sorry. Oh, okay, let's go back on mute, cuz.
Oh,
Okay, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to.
Let's try it again.
Slavery destroyed that connection that they needed in order to remove us. Most American Africans are so brainwashed, they think they're American. So you cannot deport them because this is what they identify with most. So in other words, the white man created his own problem, which makes it almost impossible to deport us. So the only way to get rid of us is a systemic system of racial genocide. And that's what they're using.
So what do you think about people? Because a conversation or argument that I have is with some Africans or Caribbeans is that they would say that Black Americans don't have any culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll say that racism doesn't exist because I was able to come from my country and I was able to be successful and provide for my family. Y'all just using racism as an excuse, to hold y'all back or whatever the case is. What's your thoughts on?
Well, number one, they're politically ignorant, socially inexperienced. They know very little about the experience of the American African. And they also don't understand racism. In order for racism to succeed, some Blacks must be successful. You need a LeBron. You need an Oprah. You need a Tyler Perry. You need a Sean Carter. You need a Beyonce Knowles. You need a Sean Puffy Combs. You need a Robert Johnson. You follow? Why do you need successful Black people if you want to destroy our Black people? Because in order to brainwash the other ones into believing that your failure is not due to systemic discrimination, it's due to the fact that you're not intelligent enough or you're not working hard enough. Do you see that?
Right.
So if Dr. Umar is a billionaire and you've been trying to get your business off the ground, it ain't popped yet. You've been trying to get your corporation off the ground, it ain't popped yet. You didn't open up 10 business, they all didn't flop. You need me as the billionaire to come and say, fellas, it's not your fault. They designed the system to not work in your behalf. But because I love being rich and I love my proximity to white culture and lifestyle, I don't tell you it's not your fault that there's a game set up and there's only going to be a few Dr. Umars. I tell you the problem is yours. Obviously, you didn't do your business plan right. Obviously, the reason why the bank didn't give you the business loan is because you didn't have your numbers right. Your credit wasn't high enough. You see that? And so the Black millionaire and billionaire class is one of white supremacy's greatest arguments to defend itself against accusations of racism. Because Oprah Winfrey is not going to indict the system. LeBron James is not going to indict the system. You understand me? Tyler Perry is not going to indict the system because they made their money through the system. And because they're at the top of Black society, they know how powerful white folks really are. They know how unfair the game really is. They know me being here is a privilege that white people gave me. Yes, I worked hard to get here, but I would never be here without their help. At the end of the day, all of our Black millionaires and billionaires are owned by the white power structure. I don't say that to be disrespectful because I respect LeBron James, right? I appreciate the image of a Black man with a Black woman with Black children who's never been in any trouble. Entered the league at 17, 18 years old and never had a single scandal. He's a good example of a responsible Black man. I like how Jay-Z came from Marcy Projects and now you're a billionaire the legal way. I like what Oprah did coming from nothing at Tennessee State. I like what Tyler Perry did coming from sleeping in his car to being a billionaire to owning the first all-Black music studio, one of the largest in the country. Even white folk go to Tyler Perry Studios to film their movies. Part of Black Panther 2 was filmed at Tyler Perry Studios. So I appreciate their rags to riches story. The problem is they can't top it off with a cherry on top. And the cherry on top is to look camera in the eye and say, I made it, but most of my people never will because the system is not designed for Black people to succeed. And this is how they get us. They'll promote a few Blacks. Everybody else struggling, everybody else in poverty, everybody else coming out of prison, but they'll promote a few Blacks. And because a few Blacks made it, they're automatically supposed to mean that we are doing better. No other group you could push that on. Because every other group is based on collective group progress. Black people, we are totally rooted in selfishness and meism. We don't have weism like the Latinos or weism like the Asians or weism like the Anglo-Saxons or weism like the European Jews. We have meism. And as long as we have meism, a few successful Blacks automatically means y'all all must do better. Like I think I saw Jay-Z do an interview one time and they said, well, what have you done for Black people? And he said something to the effect, and I don't want to misquote him, I'm paraphrasing. He said something like, me just being who I am
is enough for Black people?
Is enough for Black people. Most ridiculous, arrogant, ignorant statement I ever heard. But that's what black millionaires and billionaires feel. Because I've made it, I'm a benefit to my race. And it's that same ridiculous black bourgeoisie illogical thinking that ushered Barack Obama into the White House, who did nothing for black people but steal everything we worked for and give it to the gays, the immigrants, the Latinos, and white women.
A lot of people don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I said, so what do you say about like selective people that selectively black, or they want to seem like they support black people? And black people are like, we're forgiving to everybody, right? We always give opportunity.
Except each other.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we handle that? Or should we still be supportive? Or because give
me an example of someone who's selectively black. Give me an example of.
Right.
People that like kind of pick and choose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was saying that as far as like groups, different people. Okay, so like let's bring even a reparation situation. So there's a lot of groups of people, like people from Jamaica or people from the Caribbean. They're not black, but now they're hearing that reparations is a possibility. They want to be black now.
I would argue they are black. I would argue they are African.
But they're not. Prior to that, they say I'm not black. You get what I'm saying?
I understand. Okay. I don't identify with y'all, but when there's a benefit to be obtained, I will.
Yes.
Temporarily. Yes. Until I get what I need and just roll off the boat.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyone who is disingenuous about their membership in the African race should be rejected from it. I don't believe in part-time Africans. I don't believe in opportunistically Africans, right?
Definitely.
Like what you're speaking of, selective Africans. If there's something that I can select that will be a benefit for me, I'll be African for a week, for a day, for a year until I get it. And then I'm not African no more. I reject all of them.
Okay.
Whether that's a Jamaican African or an American African.
Definitely.
Because you got black folks right here who are the offspring of our enslaved ancestors who don't identify as being black. For me, blackness is a two-pronged test. First of all, are you biologically African?
Definitely,
and are you psychologically African? So if I look at some of my Puerto Rican African brothers and sisters, or some of my Dominican African brothers and sisters, many of them are biologically black, but they do not psychologically identify with the race at all. Many do, but more often than not, they don't. And so for the ones who do not identify, I don't accept. I don't believe in begging, pleading, or forcing people to be African. You follow what I'm saying?
Definitely.
It's an honor to be God's original people. It's an honor to have the strongest DNA. It's an honor to be the oldest people, the most creative people. It's an honor to be who we are. We're God's first children. We are the chosen people. So I'm not forcing nobody. If you think being ultra light skinned is a benefit, run with it. You understand? If you think speaking Spanish makes you better than black people speak English, you run with it. Or if you're an American Negro like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who goes out of your way to support the white power structure at the expense of African people, you run with that. You follow me? Anybody who wants out, I'm letting them out. Because the worst thing you can do is force a black person to be black when they don't want to be. Because the minute they get a chance to stab you in the back, they're going to do it 2 times. You follow me? So anybody who don't want to be, you're free to leave. And let's deal with the people who are 100%, 24 hours a day, unapologetic.
And if you say this to our aunties, our grandmas, they're going to forgive them. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, let them back in. You get what I'm saying?
But the issue...
But don't you think
let me go back. Let me take a step back. For me, there should only be one reparations movement anyway. I don't support the tribalistic approach to reparations where the American Africans got their own fight, the Caribbean Africans got their own fight, the continental Africans got their own fight, the Australian Africans got their own fight, the Brazilians got their own fight, Central American Africans, We all came from one place, one place, and there should be one organized system for reparations. The reason we don't have a global approach to reparations is because everybody favors the tribe over the race. And that is why Pan-Africanism is so revolutionary, because we're the only ones to say that being African is more important than being a Jamaican. Being African is more important than being an American African, a descendant of a slave. Being African is more important than being a Brazilian. Until you elevate the family above your nationality, then we'll never get what we need. You have to have a unified approach for something as important as reparations. And I'm going to be honest with you. And this is something that a lot of us are not looking at globally or locally. And that is what we are demanding for reparations. You normally only get through an act of war. If we get all that we are entitled to, it'll be the first time in human history that one group of people received from their oppressors that type of a settlement, that type of a resolution without no bloodshed. People go to war for less than what we're owed in reparations. And I'm going to be honest with you. I believe it's going to take war for us to get it.
So what about...
They will give you reparations, but it will not be anything near what you were entitled to.
Because I'm familiar with the U.S. paying, obviously, the Native Americans,
the Japanese, the
European
Jews.
Exactly. So, those...
And they give reparations to people who they haven't even harmed, like the Afghanis, the Ukrainians, and everybody else.
Right. So, how should reparations be paid? And, why do you think that, because there was a poll recently where they asked, non-Black, Americans or non-Black people if Black people deserve reparations, and overwhelmingly they said no. So why do you think that non-Black people said, these are non-Black people,
non-Black people.
Why do you think they don't think that Black Americans deserve reparations? And how would you go about giving reparations to Black Americans?
Good question. First of all, why does the opinion of an Asian matter at all? You are not an enslaver. You were not an enslaved. You understand me? What does the opinion of someone who had nothing to do with my tragedy, why does their opinion even matter? I'll tell you why it matters. America wants to create this illusion of a multicultural society where race don't matter. And America knows, because everybody wants to be here so badly, they don't have a problem shitting on black people to improve their relationship with the white power structure. So if you ask the Asian, do black people deserve reparations? Of course not. You ask the Arab, do black people deserve reparations? Of course not. You ask the European Jew, who got reparations? Do black people deserve reparations? Of course not. But we should not be surprised. If I don't value black life, why the hell would I care about you receiving compensation for unpaid labor, damages, and harm? They don't value African life. So of course they don't give a damn about you getting no reparations. You understand me? Right. Because they're not approaching this question from an issue of justice or perspective of justice or equality. They're approaching this question from a perspective of racism, bigotry, bias, and discrimination. Right. Nobody wants black people to get anything because they want to take your place. You understand me? The Asian don't want you doing better than them in America. You understand? The Arab don't want you doing better than them in America. The European Jew don't want you doing better than them in America. The Latinos don't want you doing better than them in America. So of course, if somebody put a microphone in their mouth and say, should black people get something that you're not going to get, why would they say yes?
They prefer us to be a punching bag.
Absolutely. And my question is, it's none of your business.
All right.
This is an issue between black people and white people. What the Chinese man thinks is irrelevant. What the Latino thinks is irrelevant. What the European Jew thinks is irrelevant. What the Arab thinks is irrelevant. You're not the enslaved or the enslaver. Who the hell cares what you think about it? But because we're so multicultural, the power structure can use those non-black opinions against us. Because they can say, since you see the Latino as your brother and sister, since you see the Arab as your brother and sister, and we are all Americans, because black people love that Americanism, which is another reason why we're not going to get reparations, because the white man knows you would rather be an American and get reparations. If you got to choose between the two, most black people want that red, white, and blue flag more than anything else, right? And so as a result of that, the power structure can then say, since you consider yourself to be a part of the family of America, most of us don't think y'all should get reparations. So why don't we put it on the next federal election and see how many Americans think black people should get reparations? And then they could just block out the whole thing and say most Americans don't think this is a good thing for the country. You see? And you know how they were able to do that? Because we started identifying with this country more than ourselves. We should have never bought into this American citizenship garbage. We should have never allowed that. Just like we should have never bought into people of color. We should have never bought into minority. We should have never bought into disadvantaged communities. All of these are labels that clump you in with all non-white people that allows the government to take care of their needs and never take care of yours. Right. And nobody even see you not being taken care of, because guess what? Your issues are being smothered by Arab issues, Latino issues, Chinese issues, homosexual issues. So nobody even realized black people still suffering because you allowed yourself to be defined in such a way that other groups were included with you. That's the worst thing you can do as a people with such a unique history as we have in this country. We have to stand up and stand out like a sore thumb. But because most black people have been brainwashed by church that being race first is a sin, right? And because most black people have a low racial self-esteem problem, the last thing they want to do is stick out. We are too neurotic about being black. We are too insecure about being black. We are too anxious about being black. We don't want to stick out. We want to blend in. And that's how that multicultural weapon was used.
But what about, because, you know,
this is why I don't like this nigga. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like this nigga. He's stupid. And I'm gonna tell you why he's stupid.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think he understands the difference between race, nationality, ethnicity, because I'm pretty sure there are black Latinos. He also doesn't understand how sexuality works. I'm pretty sure there are black people. I mean, I had to check to see if I was black for a second. Because I'm pretty sure I'm a Negro, and I'm pretty sure my wife, who's also a Negro, has a coochie. So I don't think he understands that black people are also non-heterosexual.
No, that's part of the agenda.
So who the fuck are you popping all this shit for?
Remember the LGBTQIA plus community is part of the agenda to break down the black community. Remember, that's what he said.
But as a pan-African, what is it? A pan pizza, pan Americana cappuccino, whatever.
Pan pizza. I'm dead. Now I want Pizza Hut.
Did he not study any African history prior to the transatlantic slave trade? Because I'm pretty sure when I was an undergrad studying history and politics, being active in the Black Student Union, I recall distinctly reading about, studying, having speakers come and talk to us about African history prior to even global colonization. And I'm pretty sure back then, back then, gender didn't even exist. There were people that could have children, people that had the stuff to put stuff in the children. There were people that had both. Just like that is the same today So it always confused me why this man is so deeply entrenched and I am so African, but yet you are still holding steadfast to the terminologies and the sentiments of the man that colonized you. Who told you you were a man? Who told you were black? Who told you
And
that?
that's why
Who?
I made a video that said that Dr.
Your mic is
Umar
going in and out.
is about white supremacy.
I think it's me. Hold on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said Dr. Umar is a white supremacist.
Ooh.
He practiced white supremacy. But he wraps it in this Pan-African garb. And so that way, Black people that are not informed of what white supremacy is, and that
Right.
Black people can also play a part in being anti-Black themselves, they sit and listen because they think he is the new Malcolm X, the new
You wish.
the new
My soul left
Garvey.
my body.
You know, that's what they think. They're thinking that he is so profound. Everybody that speaks very well and has this, way in which they can use words doesn't necessarily make them smart.
That part. And like, I'm just sitting here because, like I told Coco, I was like, I'm ready, I'm charged, I'm gonna be keeping my hands busy so I can listen. And I'm just sitting here like, sir, how? Why? What's the end goal here? If everybody decided panorama is what we gonna be, if that's what we decided, then what's the next step? What does the next step look like? I'm so serious. Like, because in my brain it's just like I'm listening and I'm just like, this is driving my ADHD undiagnosed insane. What are you talking
Y'all
about?
see I'm over here stress eating.
Like, what is happening here? What is going on? And what is the resolve? What does it look like? Because you're talking about bringing the diaspora together when we can't get the Black American men in this country to even take care of their kids. We can't even get them to show up for the kindergarten graduation. What are you talking about? I can't. All right.
I have another question. I have a question, and maybe y'all can answer this. And it's going to sound bad because I go to school for educational psychology, but I've never heard of this. How can you be psychologically African?
Girl, I thought African was an improper term to categorize people's nationality. I don't know, girl. Especially because, Africa is also a European term. Every country is drawn by Europeans. So, even that. But you know what? Pan-Africanism.
But what is this like?
What is going on with my camera? Why are you beefing?
I'm just trying to understand, what does the resolve look like? What does it look like? If everybody decides to be panoramic, then what's the next step? What's the next step? How do you go about getting the other African people in the diaspora to not look at us as if we have leprosy and join their resources with ours so that we can demand the reparations for the descendants of chattel slavery, or just everybody within the diaspora? Because he wasn't really clear, because the reparations we're talking about is to the descendants of the slaves that happened in chattel slavery in the United States. That's what I thought the reparations we were talking about. Why would we be getting reparations for the whole world?
But even to that, 2 points, right? With that, it's like, so is he unaware that slavery and enslaved people went to other places besides North America or the territories of the English colonies in the United States? Like, does he know that the reason why there are so many Africans in the Caribbean and South America, Central America, is because of slave trade? The same slave trade, the same enslavers that brought us here, ain't nothing different but a boat drop off. Like, I'm also confused about that. But it also confuses me how every time he brings up an issue, although I understand that it comes from colonization, global dominance, blah, 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 there's never any room for us doing whatever the fuck we want, even if we stay within the system. Because yes, we all go to work and get our paycheck from a white man, but what is stopping us from investing in our community? What's stopping black men from getting off their asses and stop and go get one of these boys and make sure that they don't fall victim to the ADHD to prison pipeline, which is real
I've never
wild.
even heard of that.
Because it's
that's
real
not
wild.
it's not a thing.
That's real wild to me. But it's
The
like
ADHD prison, that's not a thing. That's a way to no, that's not a thing.
it's giving conversion camp a little bit. Like you're gonna
It's
pray the
just like the
ADHD
Israelites.
away.
Again, this is a man that tells African Americans, hey, if your child's school calls you and say, hey, Dimitri is displaying these certain symptoms of this certain learning delay, can we go ahead and start the process of seeing if we can get him tested so we can make sure that we are providing him with appropriate education, because that's what the American education system is supposed to do in every state. You are telling them to say, oh, hell no, you will not give my son ADHD when there is way more learning delays out there, behavior disorders out there than just ADHD.
And see, I'm a little sensitive on that topic because my son is autistic, and I thought throughout his adolescence before we got his diagnosis, dad and paternal grandfather are both bipolar. So a lot of my pre-preparation to get my son support was because he was a little delayed in talking. And my thought as a parent, I was like, okay, I want him to be able to adequately communicate, because if the bipolar becomes an issue, I was so hyper focused on the bipolar that now that I have his diagnosis and we've been almost a year of him getting pretty much 360 treatment, I now can look back at videos of him as an infant and be like, wow, I didn't pick up on that because I thought it was this. The reason I have an issue with that is because it is too many of our children that are struggling to learn, struggling to figure it out, feeling like they are not enough, or feeling like they're dumb. Like my child literally at the beginning of second grade, before I found out his first grade teacher ain't do what she was supposed to be doing. Hold on, let me grab my thoughts because that helped. Anyway, my son came home and was like, Mom, I can't do it. I'm not smart. I can't do it. I'm not smart. And I'm like, you are smart. We need to make sure we get you the support so that you can learn. For me to find out that heifer violated his IEP his entire first grade year. And instead of her actually teaching him the stepping stones of what he needed to go into second grade and do the work that was being requested of him, he was still on a first grade level going into second grade. So I had to go in there and say, I don't know how many times y'all want me to show up to this school, but if y'all want to put my parking spot at the front door, I'm going to be here, because my son should not be treated as if he shouldn't get the same education as his peers. And so for him to be like the ADHD to prison pipeline, how you even get that?
First off, most of the reason why the school to prison pipeline happened is because our Black boys and girls are not being diagnosed with the proper things that they need to be diagnosed with, so they can have the IEP, so that way they can learn on their own pace and level. Correct. That is the reason why that happens, because they change it from, oh, this child has a delay, to, oh, this child is a problem.
Right.
That's how the school to prison pipeline happens. Not because you get diagnosed with ADHD.
And ADHD is not the only diagnosis. That's exactly the other thing. He's trying to make it seem like, oh, they trying to diagnose everybody with ADHD. My nephew, my oldest nephew does not have a diagnosis. However, my sister told me at one point, like, my son was going through a phase. I think it was hormones mostly. But she said, just wait until 10. She's like, wait until 10. She's like, I'm telling you, your nephew displays some of the same similar traits, not specifically like the autism, but maybe like on the ADHD spectrum. And she said, once he got to 10 for her, I don't know if it was a growth spurt. I don't know if it was a change of hormones. She was like, he sort of kind of mellowed out. She's like, so let's just hope that happens for my nephew as well. I can't sit back and treat everybody else's child the way that my sister treated my nephew, but I can take advice and figure out, hey, that works for my child, but that doesn't. My son going into second grade feeling like he's not smart because the person who is paid to teach him is not there. And I'm the parent that I showed up because she said my son punched somebody. And I was like, a girl on TikTok or Instagram, probably Instagram, that used to be friends, but she's like, Amanda, you should probably request a meeting. Just go in there and sit down and find out what's going on. Don't just take her word for it. And I'm a first-time mom. She has a child in college and one in middle school. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a pretty whatever. For me to come and find out that 2 little boys ran up in my son's face. So let me be clear. My son knows how to fight. His great-grandfather made sure of it. But my child is not a fighter. So for my son to swing on somebody, that means somebody triggered him. And so in that moment, I sit down and I say, hey, my son's in front of the woman. And I was like, hey, we're here to learn. We're here to do, the paperwork and the worksheets and things like that. I'm going to write down, mommy's going to write down her telephone number and I'm going to give it to Miss Such and Such. And if we have any problems or whatever, you can ask her to call me. She knows she can call me, whatever. I did what I thought I was supposed to do as a parent to show the teacher like, hey, I understand that education is not my thing. However, as a parent, you know that I'm a present parent and that I expect certain things from the behaviors of my child. Again, they're children, they're learning, they're changing, they're evolving every day. But from that day to the end of his first grade year, that woman gave me so much help. She has literally, now that I know how to read the IEPs, she literally went back and put in the IEP, oh, he's a violent terrorist. She said that in the IEP meeting. And because the head principal is a Black man, the IEP supervisor, vice principal is a Black woman who has a child on the spectrum herself. His new SPED teacher is a doctor. And that lady tried to talk down to the SPED teacher, who is not only a doctor, but working on her second master's degree, who has advocated for my son since she has met him. I told her up front, I said, do not reference my child like that in the same manner. I said, he's not violent, but his mother is. So do not, because I'm gonna have to change the subject because I feel myself ready to fight.
We can change this. We go into the video, but no, that it leads
you gotta fight for your kids. You got to.
Absolutely, but don't let them label. He don't care about these damn kids.
He don't.
No, he don't.
We can't pray the gay away. We can't pray the autism away. We can't pray.
My mama just said that 2 months ago.
Like, no, these children need help. While we're sitting here trying to pray it away, what we're not doing is informing ourselves about how it is best to interact with a child and to raise a child. Like, if you are sitting here thinking that all these things don't affect children, and you're gonna just say we're gonna take the perfect non-disabled, non-gay, LGBTQIA, we're gonna take the perfect cis hetero boy, and that's who we're gonna funnel all of our energy into. You don't care about these damn kids.
My mother.
Not to mention, he don't even care about the girl children, because
the girl children don't matter at all.
That was another point that always got to me. If you're gonna make a school, why aren't you making a school for both Black girls and Black boys? Because both of them are suffering in the same community.
Yep.
So I'm confused. And then if you listen to what he said that his school is going to incorporate, they could just go to a trade school after they finish high school. They don't need to go to you to learn how to farm.
Right.
Not farm.
And as far as the pray the autism away, my mother literally fussed me out. You're not praying hard enough. Girl, I have.
There ain't nothing wrong with him.
No,
he just a little different.
But see, she doesn't even realize that she need to unpack her own stuff. honey, we're not the same type of parents, and you can't pray autism away. That would be very irresponsible of me as a parent to be like, I'm gonna pray the autism away and not get my child the help that he needs.
A very
You can feel
a big waste of time.
Right. Oh Lord, here go Eli. Look at this mess. Oh Jesus.
All right, let's go. Let's just get back in there.
All right.
Back in the trenches.
You know, right now when we're having this conversation, there's a lot of words being interchanged. We got African Americans, we got blacks, you know. So some people would say that Black Americans have an identity crisis. We don't know if we want to identify as Black. We don't know if we want to be African American. We got FBA, we got Moors, we got all these different terms to describe Black indigenous slaves, or you get what I'm saying? So do you think that Black people in America have an identity crisis?
I think most Black people in the world have an identity crisis. You got to remember, when a white man went into the Caribbean, if you were a British subject, you may have called yourself British. If you went into French West Africa, there are Africans who might still consider themselves subjects of the French Empire. You understand me? Most Africans globally have an identity crisis because we have been conquered by white people. Remember, only once upon a time, the only independent country you had on the face of this earth that was Black was Ethiopia. That's the only free Black country on the face of the earth at one time. And we were forced to do what? Speak our oppressor's language, wear his clothes.
He answered my question. He does not think the world existed outside of European rule. Let me back that back up. This man literally said that. Does he think the world was like produced? Is it boom, Big Bang, and then subjugation?
Yeah. Most of them don't know what their lives look like prior to slavery. And he's no different.
How are you a Pan-Africanist and you don't know your history before the transatlantic slave trade?
Just like with the Israelites.
We were helping Europeans understand how washing themselves would help expand their life expectancy.
Like literally sailing across the entire globe, you will find of these ancient empires in Asia and South America. You gonna see Negroes. You wanna know why? Because everybody in this bitch besides the Europeans were selling every fucking where.
Right.
I did not sit through a whole year of English history from the cave to the Magna Carta to the Europe to the colonies for this man to say that for all of history, the only free Black nation was Ethiopia. Well, if you're taking the white man's drawings, I guess that should be so. Did you not exist before fucking Europeans came out the caves?
Has he ever mentioned what's his name? Mansa Musa? I don't never say it right. Does he
They
ever
want to be Moors, but don't know shit about Moors. The Moors didn't come before the transatlantic slave trade. Now it did come after a different slave trade. Now we gotta get in our history bag. The Middle Easterns really did their big one. Yeah. Because you remember, before Christianity and the Crusades, how did Judaism and Islam get to the continent? Like, how are you going to be a Pan-Africanist, whatever the fuck, Panera bread, fucking piñatas, I don't fucking know, but how are you going to do that and you not know any of your history outside of fucking European colonization? I shouldn't be drinking, but I am, but what the fuck?
But he swear he right. And all three of them little peeps is sitting there. And I say peeps because they just fluffy and light and colorful and absorbing all of this foolishness that they're going to regurgitate on another podcast next week.
I explained that a million times over. We have all sat in each other's lives and had Black men try to make us seem like we were foolish. And I'm like, you got that from this person who got this from that person. And the original person didn't even say anything like that.
We playing telephone with facts that are not facts. The basis of it, whoever started it was incorrect to begin with, and y'all took it and ran and manipulated it over and over again. It's like at this point, I don't even know. I'm gonna just put this on play because I'm gonna let it play for a while. Because at this point, I'm checked out. Honestly.
At this particular
this is again where every time he got to a point where I knew it didn't make any sense, or that I was going to waste my time to try to debunk what he had to say, like I was going to ever meet this man, I just skipped it.
Where's Cynthia G when you need her? Because this is extra.
He reviewed it. He reviewed it already. But I just, oh Lord, I should have brought some fucking crown up here.
Not no crown, not no crown, baby.
This man, oh my God. Okay, oh my God. All right.
Okay, we're muting.
We're gonna get through this somehow. If not, we can do part 2 next week, because I don't think we're gonna make it all the way through.
It's probably gonna have to be a part 2.
We can do part 2 next week, because
Or at any point in time, if you want to fast forward to the clip that we was talking about, and then figure it out from there.
Yeah, I would, but I feel like my thought process was I want the slow roll. How the fuck did we get there? Because the clips that I saw based on this portion of the conversation, how they hear all this tidbits and shit. But when we got to the conversation about them taking responsibility, they don't, obviously they don't see. He don't lay it out. Your kid is not being raised by you. They got ADHD going to prison apparently. The girl children ain't nowhere to be found. We don't care about them. The gays out here taking over your kids. The Latinos taking over your kids. Whatever. And then it's gonna be like, well, I can't lead. They won't let me. So we're gonna.
Yes, they can. You just gonna go to Canada, Coco. Just Canada.
Listen, I should have been tapped out at that point. This nigga really said. This man said, "Who you gonna?"
Canada.
Who you gonna deport a Black American to? Canada.
But here's the thing: why hadn't they done that? If that was the answer.
I mean, that was that simple.
Why haven't they done that?
Been in Canada a long time ago. In 1950.
Canada.
Yeah.
1950, we would have been out of here.
Listen, I'm telling you that he's a Tory Lanez fan by that answer. that's all I need to know.
Look at his face. Does this look like a man that have any common sense? Does this look like a man?
He look like he related to my baby daddy. So you absolutely right. He ain't got to look a damn sense. Not none. Gender wars, pro-blackness, reparations. Y'all are talking above your pay grade.
All 4 of them.
You're talking above your pay grade. Did you hear the part where he was like, Dr. Umar's a billionaire?
Who? A billionaire with no school?
Listen, you didn't hear him when he said...
I think he was trying to use that as an example.
Oh, okay.
He was using it as an example. Calm down, Coco. He was using it as an example.
I was like, where are we getting these facts?
Because I saw that part and was like,
that man cannot have that much money in the bank. Not if you on live asking for donations.
Right. I'm about to look up his net worth. I'm gonna
let this play a little bit because we're gonna get through this somehow, some way. Because okay, let me let it go. I'm sorry. I was supposed to not be pausing outside.
Hold on. Net worth as of 2023, last updated June 2023, has his social medias, Instagram and Twitter. Estimated net worth $600,000.
He can put some money on opening that school.
Yeah, he can. No, that is the money to open up the school.
Oh, yup.
Yeah, because one of them is saying 100K to 1 million. Another one is saying 500,000, and a third one is saying 1.5 million. But the one that came up at the top of the search said 600,000.
That is the school's money.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna get through this. Let's do it.
All right.
I think most Black people in the world have an identity crisis. You got to remember, when a white man went into the Caribbean, if you were a British subject, you may have called yourself British. If you went into French West Africa, there are Africans who might still consider themselves subjects of the French Empire. You understand me? Most Africans globally have an identity crisis because we have been conquered by white people. Remember, only once upon a time, the only independent country you had on the face of this earth that was black was Ethiopia. That's the only free black country on the face of the earth at one time. And we were forced to do what? Speak our oppressor's language, wear his clothes, worship through his religion, and identify with his flag. So we all had, and many of us still have, an identity crisis. Now, as far as all the different ideologies and political ideologies, here's what I say to that. I don't give it a lot of attention because I think most black people know they're from Africa. So when people lie and say you're not from Africa, you're a Cherokee or a Choctaw, this and that, most black people have enough common sense and command of the history to know where they came from. I mean, you have DNA analysis now. We don't even have to debate this philosophically. We can find out genetically. Give some blood and let's see if the Cherokee Nation comes up on the damn paperwork. You understand me? It's not going to come up because you're an African. But again, nobody wants to be on a losing team. So look at the contradiction. We'll get mad at a Jamaican African brother or sister who doesn't identify with us. We'll get mad at an immigrant Nigerian African brother or sister who don't want to identify with us. But you got American Africans right here who will tell you they're not African. I'm a Cherokee. I'm a Native American. I'm an alien. I'm a this, I'm a that. And we don't say nothing to them. You see, so how is them not wanting to be an American African any different than a homegrown American African telling you I ain't African? You see what I'm saying? The harm is equal. So why separate it? See, as Pan-Africanists, we don't see, there's really no differences. The same isms and schisms and self-hate that we have in America, they have it in Africa. They have it in the Caribbean. There's Jamaicans who tell you they're not from Africa.
They got over in there, they have racism, obviously, but since the majority of the continent is black people, they have a whole thing called xenophobia now, where you discriminate from another African because they live in a different country. You get what I'm saying? So
they do, but a lot of the xenophobia, and it's not justifiable, but a lot of the xenophobia is economically related because what happens is you live in South Africa. He lives in Namibia, hypothetically.
It's the classes you mean?
No, stay with me.
Yeah.
So you are boycotting your job because y'all want higher pay. So they come to Namibia and tell you, get me 100 Namibians, come to South Africa, we need y'all to break this protest. You hungry, you got kids to feed, so guess what you do? You come across national lines and you break the South African protest, now you just gave birth to that xenophobia. Why would you bring your black ass to my country and sabotage my fight for better pay? You see that? So a lot of the xenophobia in Africa is economically related. It's the white man, again, putting black people against black people. It's the same thing they do over here with us. It's no different.
So which division you think is more important to fix first? The division here in the US or the division in Africa?
It's always global because we do not live in a isolated box. And that's the problem when people say you got to take care of the African-American thing first. That's ridiculous because you may never take care of the African-American thing. So the whole African world goes to hell because we didn't fix this first. And you'll find that you can actually do a better job of fixing local issues when you tap into the global issues because you're cutting yourself off from ideas. You're cutting yourself off from strategies. You're cutting yourself off for resources that can be put in play locally. And the thing that I always get with people, why can't you do two things at once? Can't you carry water over here and still carry a cake over here? When you drive in your car, ain't you staying with your arms and using the gas and the brake with your foot? Why only when we deal with politics and black solutions do people say you can only do one thing at a time? You can do both. Every Pan-Africanist in history has done both. We focus on the global unity of the race while we attack our domestic problem. The most honorable Marcus Garvey from right here in New York City was more instrumental in a lot of the changes that came to black people in New York City than local black elected officials. And he was a Pan-Africanist. So people have this perception that Pan-Africanists only care about the global agenda. Yes, the global agenda is king. You damn right. But my local issues matter just as much. Because if I'm trying to organize people to join the global fight, what better way to do that than to show and prove where I am? You understand? I'm a Pan-Africanist, but name me a school psychologist who puts in more work for our kids than me right here in America. Nobody. Historically, there's no psychologist who's ever done for black people what I've done for black people as it relates to training parents and making sure they can protect their children. I'm the greatest in that area. But I'm still a Pan-Africanist. Why can't I do two things at once? I'm going to Johannesburg next month, Ethiopia next month, Guadeloupe, Jamaica. I could still be in the streets of Philadelphia protesting. I could still be in New York handling what I got to do. You follow what I'm saying? Our problems are multi-systemic and the solutions must be multimodal as well. We just can't put all eggs in one basket and wait for that basket to sell before we get another basket. That's ridiculous. You're working on something while he's working on something, while you're working on something, while I'm working on something, while he's working on something. There is no one problem at a time. That's ridiculous.
So, what would be your solution to reparations and how should that be?
Well, for me, a couple things. Number one, the psychological cost of reparations has not been effectively quantified yet. That's being left out of the conversation. You can get more for psychological damage than you could get for unpaid labor. You feel me? 246 years of unpaid labor, that's nothing compared to the psychological terrorism that white people has reaped on our ancestors. That's in our soul, in our DNA, in our blood. I don't hear enough people talking about the psychological cost. That's your biggest pay right there. And when I say pay, I don't say cash because I think cash payment is a trap. I don't have a problem with cash being on the list, but it should not be primary, especially now because you have BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, who are about to float their own currency. They're going to tie it to the gold reserves in their countries, and that's going to drop the value of the dollar. So If the US dollar is about to plummet, why in the hell would you accept payment for your ancestors' dehumanization through a worthless American dollar?
Yeah.
Money is a trap. But all these thirsty reparations people, all they want is some money. I mean, let's just be honest. Half the people talking about reparations just want to check.
Yeah.
They have no vision for changing nothing for Black America. They have no history of grassroots struggle. They're Utopian opportunists, most of them. They're not deep thinkers.
I honestly don't think Black people would be financially responsible enough to, use that money. I think we're just gonna get that money right back.
We are.
Cause and change.
We are,
Cause and change
which is another issue that I have with our approach to reparations.
Mm.
When did we come together and choose people to represent us in this conversation and in this negotiation?
Who is it though?
People are self-selecting themselves. You know why? Because we are disorganized. So before there's any reparations conversation, before there's any distribution of reparations, we have to first organize and elect the people we want to represent us. You just can't have somebody on YouTube popping up, I'm the face, I'm the face. That's why Black America always gets exploited. Because we are disorganized, anybody can claim to be the leader. You can go out here right now and say you're the leader of Black America, and guess what? Nobody's probably going to oppose you because we are so disorganized. And a disorganized people are ripe for opportunists. Opportunists love disorganization because it gives you the right to do anything and not be held accountable for it. So number one, we need to be organized. And until we get organized, there should be no conversation on reparation. Because I'm gonna tell you what the white man going to do. We already know what he's going to do. He's going to look for people he can use, and he's going to give the reparations to them, and he's going to dictate how they use the reparations. Y'all follow what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So he's not sweating this. He said, okay, this is how y'all want to handle this? No organization, no conversation. Just a few, okay, well, let me select him because I know I own him. And let me select him. I know I own him. And y'all going to use this money just for basketball and football. You understand me?
Right.
It'll be a joke.
Right.
A disorganized people should never go to war with an organized people.
Right. That's
There
valid.
has never been a war in history where a disorganized group of people won against an organized group of people. Show me where. We can't. And reparations will be no different. On top of that, you need an infrastructure to catch the reparations, to make sure that the Black dollar circulates several times before it leaves your community.
Right.
The Black dollar leaves our community in less than 24 hours. So if you accept a cash payout, all you did was serve as a middleman between the Federal Reserve and every thirsty merchant in the Black community raping us financially. Because every penny you get from reparations is going to go to the Chinaman, to the Arab, to the Jew. It's going to Mercedes, it's going to Nike. And then Black people say, you don't know that that's true. Yes, I do know that that's true. You know why? Because as a psychologist, the best predictor of future behavior is current behavior.
Right.
So you mean to tell me we're going to radically change our spending habits with the reparations money?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
When you've never been responsible with your own damn money? What happened to all the stimulus checks Black America got? What we do with that for the people? What about our tax returns? What do we do with that for the people? What have we done since Dr. King's murder 55 years ago, financially and collectively, to transform our reality? Nothing at all. And that's why I've said I do not believe that the current generation of African people should be responsible for the dissemination or discussion over reparations, because we haven't done anything worthwhile that will entitle us to that type of responsibility, right? So we should get our land back. All the land that was confiscated from African people between the end of slavery and the end of Reconstruction. You're talking about tens of thousands of acres. All the land got to come back. All of the inventions that Black people invented, everything from the gas mask to the stoplight, refrigerated truck, the golf tee, the ironing board, all of that reverts back to us as a permanent patent. And whenever you use it, we got to license it to you. We get paid for it. Black music, all Black music, only Black people. One of the biggest reparations settlements we can have. Only Black people can own, sell, publish, promote, or perform Black music.
That's big, right? That's
Black music is one of America's top exports.
Right.
This country makes more money off selling Black talent than almost anything else she sells. If we owned Michael Jackson's catalog, Sam Cooke's catalog, the Beatles catalog, think about that.
Prince catalog.
Prince catalog, all of them. We have enough money to build a Black Wall Street in every city. We got to get the music. Any reparations package that does not give us exclusive control of our music, as far as I'm concerned, is a loss. Because Black music is too powerful, too globally influential, and brings in too much revenue for us not to control the music.
Are you referring to like the past music or current?
Past and present. Past and present. In other words, Sony Records, Warner Brothers, Universal, you've made billions of dollars off those catalogs. Pass them on over now. Do you feel me? They've made more than enough money off of our deceased artists.
Right.
You understand me? More than their families made. It's time to revert them on back.
What you think?
And we can't let nobody trivialize that, because listen, how are you going to just take it back? The same way white people went into Palestine and took land from the Palestinians and gave the Israelis, the European Jews, a country of their own.
But that go back to the war thing. Like they shed blood for that. They went over there with organized, you know what I mean, and was able to assert.
But that was an act of the global white power structure. The European Jews themselves didn't go over there and wage war.
Okay.
The U.S. and Britain, they did that. And the reason they did that is they wanted to have a satellite country amongst the Middle Eastern nations that they could use as a spy in a military base in case they need to go to war with Iran or Iraq. In other words, it benefited America and the UK to have Israel right here amongst the Arabs. So if we need to go to war, we can launch from right here. They was looking out for themselves, really. Always, you see. But also, in addition to that, America's natural resources. America has like 10 major natural resources. We should get a 25% cut of the revenue of all those natural resources into perpetuity, permanently, forever. You follow?
Tax exemption. Should that be on the table as well?
I'm not against it.
Okay.
It's not the most important thing, though.
All right.
Because if you're economically empowered, you really don't care what your taxes are. We have to think like
Native Americans that don't they get aren't they exempt from taxes and stuff?
Who
like
is?
That? Native Americans.
I'm not sure. They might be.
I think that was part of it.
I'm not against it.
Right.
But I don't, when you think of a reparation settlement, the whole purpose of the settlement is to empower your people.
Right.
Right? There's no billionaire in America who's fighting for a tax exemption because he's making enough money to pay them. Are y'all following me?
Mm-hmm.
We got to make sure.
Nigga, what? What is he talking about? Trump passed a tax break for the 1%. What is he talking about?
Listen, we gotta back up the Trump because this whole reparations talk is confusing to me.
This reparations conversation is not going to even be happening. How are you? No.
How are we having it? How are we having it then? But on to it. If reparations ain't gonna be money, what the fuck is it going to be?
That part.
Because I also don't think Negroes, especially this nigga right here, don't know the difference between the government that actually create the systems and a private corporation. If you understood the difference, there will be no reason why you think that the government could give us rights to music held by private corporations. I'm not gonna sit here and explain it to y'all. Trust me that I passed the class when we had it, okay?
But that's why. How?
There is no. If you actually understood what the fuck was going on, why would you think the government could make Warner Brothers and Sony, who some of them companies aren't even American companies?
Right.
What makes you think they can make them give us some shit like that?
And on top of that, we have to think about the black musicians who sign contracts that say you can have the rights to my music.
But then he's like, turn Michael Jackson stuff over. To whom?
To whom?
Janet?
His family?
Who? Janet?
His children?
Miss Catherine? Who is he going to? Talking about, oh, we need the Sam Cooke and the Beatles catalog.
But what
from America or
if we had the catalog, right? If we owned it, how would we make that something that's profitable? Would we be getting money? But then they just have this whole conversation about how we can't make money, which I agree with. Totally agree. But what are you getting the rights for, if not to make money?
Correct. That's
what is he talking about?
He don't know.
Here's another thing that stood out to me. So we have the Black Panthers. I'm just naming three entities that deal with black people. Mm-hmm. The Black Panthers, BLM, and the NAACP. Are they not organizations?
Yes.
Did they not organize? So what does he mean that we don't know how to organize? We've been organizing since organizing was a thing.
What he meant to say is black men do not know how to organize.
Because black women,
because again, we're
pulling shit out of our ass.
The black Latinos are excluded, the black gays are excluded, and the black women is excluded.
Yeah.
And let him tell it, the blacks with any learning disabilities or any mental or emotional disability, all of them are left out too. So I guess I don't know who the fuck he's talking to or about.
He's talking about them, the people that sit in that room. The people sitting in that room. Because that's what I'm saying. He's talking about you don't know how to organize, but who organized BLM? That was black women. And I don't know there's sexual preference or whatever the case may be.
Even saying there hasn't been any movement in our community since the civil rights movement, and I'm like, I call bullshit.
Yeah, because what is BLM? What is the NAACP?
He said ain't been no movement since they assassinated Martin.
Like, so y'all, because I mean, when you go to those meetings, even back with Martin and them, because the Black Panther Party was 2/3 black women. What he really wants to say and should actually be saying with his full chest is black men haven't banded together and done anything as a collective since the civil rights movement.
That part. They've only
I don't think black women, I don't think the black gays, because I mean there was the women's rights movement after that. There is the gay rights movement after that. Like, so I'm confused. I mean, I'm not confused because he totally just said that fuck everybody else who's not cishet black male.
Right.
So I could see that if you're not including everybody that's black in the black community, I can see how you would miss that. Oh, the women's had their movement. oh, the gays had their movement. Oh, there was a movement in the crack epidemic and Rodney King and BLM. If I can do that off the top of my dome at 32, surely at his big ass age, who's supposed to be a leader in his community, should know that as well.
Right. He know it, but he has selective outrage just like the rest of them do. Pick and choose which talking points that he knows is going to be trigger moments, and then use that to try to make himself sound more superior than everybody else. At the end of the day, again, just like I'll use Christian Abumseli in Florida as an example. I made a very public post and was like, okay, black men, y'all can go to Florida. Y'all can go to Miami-Dade County. Y'all can go down there and get your permits to be able to protest. Because
did you know what I mean?
Women,
someone asked me, what do you need a permit for?
To protest. To protest. And
what do you need a permit for?
Y'all didn't go down there. Y'all didn't go down there and fight for your homeboy. Y'all didn't go down there and fight for that battered black man that his unaliver was almost able to skip the country because nobody demanded her be held accountable or responsible. Y'all got quiet and mute and turned around and attacked black women. So why were y'all dependent on us to figure out a way to organize a protest or a rally or some type of situation to use our masculine energy?
I gave them for free, mind you. I gave them a list to do things. I said, y'all first need to figure out how to communicate off this damn app. Go with God. Secondly, y'all might want to get y'all permits. What do you need permits for? I don't fucking know. Maybe being in the street legally,
Yeah.
Go on Canva, make you a little infograph, and send that around off social media. And then y'all might want to take these little classes they have about safety. Y'all might want to get some milk and figure out how, what's that for? They didn't want to listen.
I told them they need to make sure they get on Miss Karen's Cricket and get them some t-shirts made, and go down there and protest. Y'all were completely okay with this man behaviors being what it was throughout the time that he was alive walking around on this planet. But now that it's time for y'all to stand up and defend that battered man, because I heard the release stuff that came from Tanya TKO. It was like that man was being abused. Now that girl was off the chain. And my response was, that was a battered black man. Where were the other black men to go and hold that individual accountable for that battered black man and how he was treated? Crickets. So y'all don't know how to come together. Oh, Ari, did you see this? The good, neutral, and the problematic?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about when y'all were saying how many black men fall into problematic. I was like 5.
So I wanted Kenneth Smith to have his moment in the sun.
Yeah,
because straight black men aren't really whining. I guess you mean winning. I don't know what you're trying to say. Most of us are quietly living our lives in the suburbs. We don't care that Pookie and Ray Ray act a fool or got killed in the process. Do
you realize that white people used to call black men Pookies and Ray Rays? When segregation was hard, that's how they identified black men as Pookie and Ray Rays.
I would really like to know,
what was the point of that comment?
If this person commenting actually believes that what they say, even though I'm assuming you're part of the LGBTQIA community, I would like to know what column do you think your behavior falls in right now?
Because he started off good. Like, he's been talking about donations for that school, and he has 2 kids out of wedlock, but wants men that didn't get any of the benefits of the hood to come back to fix the problems. And then I was like, okay, true about that first part, but
let's go back to his original comment, though, because I didn't put it up here because I don't think you understand. You are a part of the problem. Even though you are disagreeing with these particular men, your behavior, what you choose to write in my comment section, is displaying to me that at best you're a neutral black man, and at worst, but most probable, you're problematic.
Right. And let's just be clear, just because you might fall in that neutral category.
but I'm supposed to return and take care of women that chose me and children they had with morons that didn't choose. You're displaying misogyny right now.
Right.
Whether you're understanding it or not, you're also practicing individualism right now.
Correct. Which is also a very big
just
problem.
like those men in this podcast.
Yeah.
So while you're trying to make yourself or set yourself apart in my comment section, you're actually displaying how you are actually lumped into that group right now.
Yep.
I digress though. Let's get back to it though.
I'm so glad I got a lot of clothes to fold because my hands need to stay busy. My hands need to stay busy while we having this conversation. I want to punch the air. I want to punch the air.
Shame.
Because this is a lot.
Like, the first 5 seconds of this recent time of us letting it play, I had my hand up, and I know you seen my hand, but you was like, "No, we're gonna watch this." Because I was like,
we are, because if we don't, we're gonna be stopping it every 10 seconds. Because every 10 seconds he say something stupid.
He say something asinine. He says something that makes your butt itch when you ain't wiped your butt good. Like, that's the part that really irritates me about him, because he solely, like, with his whole chest, believe this right now. They got him an extender for his microphone. Oh, he's on it. We don't get to go back in time. I'm straight and normal and dealing with 2023. BLM spent the money without helping the community. I actually care about the outcomes, but that's cool. BLM.
So what do you do? How are you? What does it mean to be straight and normal? What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know why.
Let's ask this question first to him. Since you are straight and normal,
allegedly,
and you feel like, BLM didn't do right to the community, and you care about outcomes, what are you currently doing now in the Black community? Not in the suburbs.
You don't even have to ask that question. He's quietly living his life in the suburbs. That's what he's doing for the community. He's doing absolutely fucking nothing but existing as a Black person in the suburbs. As a second-generation suburban who went to private school in PWIs in Seattle, Washington, that is exactly what the fuck he's doing. What most Black people in the suburbs do. They take their hands off and say, it's not me. I'm not doing anything. Yeah, that's the point. You're not doing anything.
Right. Because I can say right now, in 2023, in my personal job that they give me a W-2 for, and they pay me every 2 weeks, I am impacting my community. Can you say the same thing?
Mm-hmm. And he's not going to, because then
I'm trying to help people who are low income, and the majority of the people that come through my program are African Americans, are Black people, Black women to be specific, that have children, that want to live a better life, and so their kids won't have to see them struggle, trying to get jobs that will pay them a livable wage. What are you currently doing besides sitting back in your suburban home eating some Cheez-Its?
Like you're better than the Black community that you abandoned. Because what are you doing to give back?
Your daughter
great.
Is what you're
supposed to do. Remember when we started this and I say that, and I had to pause and you told me, Amanda, that I probably have to make the disclaimer that just because you partake in one thing that could make you a good Black man doesn't mean you are one. That is great that you give money to libraries and you fund food banks. That is great. Wait a second. I need you to understand when you have anti-Black microaggressions. Because this is all well and good, and thank you for your service and community involvement. But what you have typed in my chat shows me that you have misogyny and anti-Blackness to unlearn. So good luck. Good job for you. Hope you get a cookie soon. Hope it's a cookie that you like. But no, not just you being a parent deserves no praise. You giving back to your community deserves no praise as well.
Right.
You need to go unlearn your anti-Blackness and misogyny.
How many little boys in your old hood are you going back and being a big brother for?
He ain't from the hood. He's from the suburbs. Because, there are no problems with black boys in the suburbs.
Oh, they not dealing with nothing.
There's no problem with black boys being one of 5 black people when they're PWIs. There's no problems with black kids in the suburbs.
No.
None.
That's sir, I'm not even trying to be rude, and we use up any more of Coco's unlimited YouTube time, but maybe this might not be the stream for you, honey. Just because the way that you are perceiving certain information and the way that you're regurgitating your thoughts and typing it out really fast, it might not align with what we're going to say out our mouth, and the 3 of us will say whatever the hell we want, however we want it. So if you feel a little touched, or a little tingly sensation to feel like you need to spat back at any of the 3 black women in this box, this might not be the area for you, honey.
Period. And then he also mentions that he's never returning to the hood. So that means you're not really giving. You're doing that thing. You know how when they say, when you go to the grocery store and it's like November, like October, November, and they're like, hey, donate a can to the local, food bank. That's what he's doing. He's taking a 50-cent can of peas and putting it in that bag that's sitting in the front of the grocery store.
Girl, it's inflation.
And then he's like, look at me, I donated.
Girl, it's inflation. Them peas $2 now. So he spent the whole 200 pennies.
Listen,
to
I'm gonna let little Kenny have his time back. But again, like my good sister just said, if you're not going to be a person that has the range to think outside of themselves, or if you're going to scapegoat instead of actually placing accurate responsibility on people, because let's be real, we all here talk about everybody at the appropriate times. If you're not going to be someone that can do that, this is not the space for you.
Because trust me, we did a lot talking about black misogynistic.
It's not the space for you to be anti-black. It's not the space for you to be anti-children, transphobia, homophobic, none of that shit.
Nothing with the LGBTQ
nothing over here, babe.
Community.
I don't care how much I drag black men. What I will not do is participate in anti-blackness, in homophobia, transphobia, in denying children their personhood, in xenophobia, in ableism. That's what we're not going to do around here.
Period.
And if you cannot do the same, you might want to get the fuck from around here.
Because I would hate to have to drag you.
I would hate to do it.
No, I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't hate it.
Oh my goodness.
I changed my bio, and I said, which is true, I've been dragging black men since 2005. That's when I realized that, like, you got to get people together sometimes. So I wouldn't mind.
I just really, this is part of the issue and the problem that that is never fully addressed, because everybody wants to individualize what they've done for the community versus what the community can do for each other if we all work together collectively. To bring up BLM and to bring up the money being spent, that was a completely different entity of BLM versus the people who were out there marching for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and risking them getting arrested by the police, and who actually was doing the footwork in person. A lot of those were black women. So you picking and choosing which narrative you want to lead, and you sound just like those All Lives Matter people. Oh, it wasn't. Well, what about us too? Like, if that's how you feel, sir, please, sorrows, prayers. You can leave, because it doesn't. We can't even address what's going on in our community because we too busy having these same dumbass conversations.
And again, it doesn't fucking matter whose children they are. It doesn't fucking matter whose children they are. Those are black children that need us. But because you went to the suburbs and you got out and you got your kids and all those women that didn't pick me and looked over me had kids by Pookie and Ray Ray, that's not my problem. This is exactly the reason why we are in the situation we are in right now. Black men like you.
Well, he's saying that.
Like you, who think your only responsibility in all of this is to get yourself out the fucking hood instead of impacting the hood positively.
What do you say? Dr. Umar is trying to get men like myself to come down and mentor the children of the men not willing to do what I'm doing naturally. So
somebody
are you holding your homeboys accountable?
Aren't you the one that left? Aren't you an example of a black man that left and abandoned the community? But you want praise and recognition for what?
Because he can raise his.
Because you take care of your kids? Okay,
like
and
supposed to?
You're legally obligated to take care of your children until the age of majority. So what are you talking about?
I can't do it. I can't fathom or understand it because the more
again, you are failing to see the point because you are so dense and you're experiencing so much cognitive dissonance, you can't pull your fucking head out of your fucking ass. It doesn't fucking matter who chose who. It doesn't fucking matter if the relationship did not work out. It doesn't fucking matter the history of the parents. There is a child that needs to be cared for. And the fact that you can't see that, the fact that you can't empathize with that, the fact that you are like, fuck them kids, even though none of them asked to fucking be here, you are part of the fucking problem. Well, you are a nothing motherfucking ass bitch like Sinji says. And you know what? Go with God. We're going to stop entertaining Kenny. We're going to go back to our regular thing because we've already established that Kenny is a nothing bitch to our community and he chooses actively to not be a participant. And he said, fuck black kids that are not his. So we're going to leave Kenneth right where we left him, which is nowhere in the suburbs, sucking white dick.
Coco.
Going on you.
Did you make you another drink?
I hadn't finished, but we almost there.
Oh, okay.
Because I think again, this is why I do things on the internet. I'm liable to swing because there is no way you came in here spewing microaggressions and being anti-black and misogynistic and classist. Like
he said more. He said, I had the ability to leave because I made intelligent long-term decisions.
Oh,
we all see it. I don't see what you're talking about because I don't know if you're intelligent or not.
Listen. You made alleged long-term intelligent decisions.
So
did you pass any of that knowledge on to the young brothers in your hood that might want to leave too?
Let's not even use your hood. Let's just use your family.
Your community.
Like a cousin.
You left your family in the hood too? That's wild.
Like a little cousin or a little brother.
That's wild.
You help them?
This is what I'm saying, because even when he bring up you having a baby by such and such, sir, that means you're also telling your homeboys not to be out. See, now he done got me flustered. Not to be out here essaying women, not to be just dropping off their sperm in women when they don't want to take care of these kids, because apparently you the alleged good homeboy while the rest of your homeboys might be trash. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, you're saying you're doing so much, but what are you doing?
He's existing in the suburbs. That's the pinnacle of blackness, existing in the suburbs.
He won.
That's the pinnacle of blackness. That's how you know you've made it. You live in the suburbs.
Never would have made it.
Girl, we going on
without you. I'm sorry. Let's go back to this nut in the sweater vest. Because I can't.
Loopholes in the system.
They find loopholes who pay less. I agree with that. But they're not going to sleep worrying about their tax bill. Jay-Z and Tyler Perry are not losing sleep over their tax bill because they're wealthy. We have to make sure that we don't approach reparations, which is supposed to be an empowerment vehicle for African peoples, with a poverty mindset. You follow me? It's like if somebody said black people should never have to pay to park on the street again. Who the fuck cares?
Right.
You feel me? If you got enough revenue coming in, who cares about that?
Right.
If we have to be concerned about a tax exemption, then you're automatically telling me that whatever we're getting for reparations isn't enough to sustain our families. You feel me?
Yeah.
If we got to be concerned about a tax exemption, whatever we got on that reparations list is not enough to sustain us. Because if you still got to hide from your taxes, you're not making enough money. You feel me?
That's right.
So that means we got to go back to the drawing board.
So with these big companies controlling like the politicians, how likely you think it is for us to get our music back from these big companies? Like,
Well, remember, your negotiations are with the government. So it's the government that got to go to the Jewish corporations that own our music and say, this goes to them now. We don't care if y'all like it or not. And you know why the Jewish music companies can't say nothing about it?
Why?
Because they participated in our slavery too. So they couldn't say, well, this was just business. No. Y'all financed the slave ships. You were the ones who paid the slave masters for slaves who showed up deceased or missing an arm or missing a leg, or the ones who committed suicide. European Jewish companies were the biggest financiers, insurers of the slave voyages. They were also slave owners. Okay? The
I ain't gonna,
Secretary of
you
War
in anti-Semitism. That's what they're gonna say.
No,
right
this
now,
is truth. Anti-falsehood. Secretary of War for the Confederacy, I believe, was a European Jew. He owned over 100 slaves, I believe.
So that's not enough bloodshed. You get what I'm saying? The time of slavery, all the black people that died, that's not enough bloodshed for us to get reparations the right way.
Of course it is, but here's the problem. Here is the problem. You were enslaved to give white people an eternal advantage over everyone else in the world, economically and politically, including you. With reparations, you're asking this white man to undo, repair, reparations. You're asking him to undo the unfair advantage he spent the last 500 years building for himself.
Right.
And that's why I'm gonna go back to my earlier point. I don't think we get reparations without war. People have went to war for less than what we are entitled to. And here's the big question you gotta ask yourself. Because from a Garvey perspective, it's all about power. It ain't about equality. It ain't about justice. It ain't about Jesus. It ain't about voting. It ain't about being an American. It ain't about equity. You know what it's about? The power you have to force the white man to do what he don't want to do. And here's my question. What are black people going to do if the white man gets on television right now and say, I'm not getting anything for reparations? We took a poll and most Americans don't feel it's necessary. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Tear up their own community.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We're going to protest and tear up our own communities. And
And the very next day, you'll be having lunch and cheese with the same white folks who said you don't deserve reparations.
That's the sad part.
Do you feel me? You have to understand something. We haven't had a comprehensive, sustained movement for systemic change in this country since Dr. King. No matter what people may say or think about Dr. King, he was the last leader to give us a real movement. Nobody has given you a movement since Dr. King. You've had your Million Man marches for one day. You've had your Al Sharpton rallies for one day. You had your Jesse Jackson get-togethers for one day, but you have not had a movement, not a sustainable one, not a comprehensive one. The last time was Dr. King. The point that I'm making, black people are politically lazy and white people know it.
That's why I find it hard for us to be patriotic for a place that doesn't love or care for us.
But we are the most patriotic.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
saying.
You know why we're the most patriotic? Because we're the most psychologically homeless. Black people are very neurotic about their identity. We hate Africa, where we come from. We cling to America. We will go around the world and brag about being an American, although you enjoy almost no rights. Immigrants who are not even citizens have more rights than you. You have Ukrainians right now getting Social Security checks, free housing, free medical care, free education, but you have the highest black homelessness rate since the 1960s. How you got Ukrainians who not even citizens living better than black people who built the country? And the reason it's so difficult for us to change that is black people care more about their American citizenship than they do about justice. The minute you bring up, maybe we should disidentify as American citizens, it's certainly an option. It's certainly an option. You have a whole refugee law in the United Nations that would allow us to say we're not being treated like Americans. We no longer identify as Americans. We are Africans in exile, or whatever name we want to give ourselves. But we are definitely not Americans, and we are protected by the United Nations under their refugee laws and their anti-genocide conventions. We would get more rights as refugees in this country than we do as so-called American citizens.
I mean, everybody else have their location. They got Little Italy, Chinatown. There's no place.
No Little Africa. Nowhere in this country where you go where black people own the school, the hospital, the bank, and the supermarket.
Facts.
4 major institutions, not to mention manufacturing and distribution. But we are $2 trillion a year. $2 trillion a year. No institutions. Half your HBCUs are supposed to be closed in the next 30 years. God forbid that doesn't happen. But you want more money. But you want more money to do what exactly? You mean to tell me you can't spend the $2 trillion you got responsibly? But now you want the ancestors' money so you can splurge that too? If I had a vote, I vote no. That money, none of it None of the restitution package gets disseminated amongst Black America until Black America organizes itself and begins to act responsibly. I would say this: build the institutions with the $2 trillion that you got. And once you build the institutions, then you get the reparations. Prove that you can handle this. Prove you are responsible enough to deal with these reparations. Build some institutions. Until we get those 5 major institutions in 20 major Black cities, no reparations should be disseminated because we're going to do nothing but waste it and give it back to non-Blacks.
That's fair. Listen, let me get to this next topic. You know, Dr. Umar, I had a lot of conversations with people about this topic, a lot of heated debates. People want to know, can you be pro-Black and date outside your race?
Absolutely not.
And I got my good brother right here, you know, who's an advocate, and he says that you can be pro-Black and date outside.
Impossible. You cannot. Marriage is a business. When you get married, you commit your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, and your pocketbook, your savings, your estate, your wealth. You commit that to that person you're married to. See, when you marry, you don't marry an individual. You marry into a race. You marry into a community. So I didn't marry a Jewish woman. I married into Jewish society. I didn't marry an Asian woman. I married into an Asian family. There's no way you can claim to love Black people, especially as a Black man, knowing that only 1 out of every 4 Black women will get married in her lifetime. We have the lowest female marriage rate in the country, 25%. That means 75% of Black women will never, ever know what it feels like to be proposed to. And if you care about the Black community, you got to care about saving a Black family, because the family is the essential institution of a community. And the only way you can save a family is to build a family. You can only build a family with a Black woman. Absolutely not. You cannot talk Black and sleep white. And why would the original man want a member of the race that enslaved and dehumanized you to carry your seed? Why would I, after the rape and the lynching and the slavery and the Willie Lynch and the Jim Crow and the police brutality and the economic apartheid and the gentrification and the AIDS and the Ebola, the West Nile, the COVID, the genetics, the eugenics, why would I want to take my original seed, God's seed, and put it in a cave-dwelling organism? Why would I want to do that?
Yeah, we need to hear you, brother.
The mic is yours, Ace.
Yeah.
I want to incubate my son, my daughter, in the womb of the people who have destroyed my people in this world.
Now, let me say first, when I made this argument, I wasn't necessarily talking about white women, obviously. I mean, there's other races out there, but
and they hate you just as much.
But what I'm saying, all right. So you said yourself earlier that there are Black people among us that are not for us.
True.
So with that being said, there are people of other races that are more for us than there are our people.
Describe for us, please.
When you go to protests for Black rights and police brutality and stuff, and you see other races that are out there and there are Black people that would never be caught out there. I mean,
okay. So because an
Asian, I'm just all right, go ahead.
Or a Caucasian showed up for a George Floyd march,
right?
That means they give a shit about Black people.
I'm just saying.
Let me ask you this. According to the Pew Research, they said 1 in 5 protesters during the George Floyd protest was Black.
Okay.
4 out of 5 were non-Black.
Right.
At least 3 out of the 4 were white. So the George Floyd protests were mostly white people.
Okay.
If white people care that much about Black folks, why didn't that woman who got Emmett Till murdered, why was she never arrested? If white people care that much about Black life, why all these police that's going around killing Black folks are not being held accountable? If white people care that much about Black life, why don't we see it in the political and economic realities of Black people? You know why they showed up to the George Floyd march?
Why?
To dissipate the power of Black people and to redirect the focus of those marches. White people outnumber Black people 5-1. So if you let them in, they automatically take control by virtue of their numbers and redirect it. And so Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic Party, turned the George Floyd march into a damn celebration for Joe Biden. Joe Biden votes in the Democratic Party. We got nothing out the march whatsoever because we let it get diluted.
Right.
You have to keep it all Black. The minute you let white people in, because you can't control how many join. There's more of them than us here. You can't control how many join. So the minute you let them in, they now have the power to remake this into whatever they want. And because most Negroes who participated in the George Floyd march made it multicultural, every time we get on the microphone, this is not just about Black people. I'm so tired of hearing that shit.
It is, though.
Everywhere
it is
you
about
go,
us.
it is about us.
Yes.
But if you notice, when it's about us, it can't be about us.
You can't just
see, when the Mexicans shut down the highways in California, nobody tried to multiculturalize that. You understand me?
You're not welcome here.
Absolutely. This is our thing. When the European Jews, this is our thing. But so when Black people do it, we got to multiculturalize to do what? Kill the focus of it. Nobody wants Black people to be free, and they damn sure don't want you to be equal, and they definitely don't want you to have more than they do.
So let me help my good brother out, right? So some of the talking points when I do have these conversations with other black men or black women is that, procreating is part of being pro-black, right? Procreating with another black person. So some people will say,
before we get into that,
okay,
what would be your description of a pro-black person?
I hate the term pro-black.
Okay.
Because I never heard of a pro-Mexican or pro-Jew. This is how messed up we are. Not you for saying pro-black, but for you to have to define a black person as pro-black. Do you know what that means?
Right.
That automatically means by contraindication that most black people are anti-black. Do you feel me? If I walk and you say he's pro-black, because this is what people say when they see me, it'll be 1,000 blacks. He's pro-black. Do you know what you're saying about everybody else in here?
No,
they're fucking coons. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. We're the only people, the people who are for us are the minority. Think about that. You have to describe people who care about black people as pro-black. No other group has to do that. And it speaks to how much most of us are anti ourselves.
I don't necessarily think that means you're anti-black, because usually when I think the word pro usually is the most extreme of something, right? This is why we got pro-life and everything else. When you put pro in front of something, that means the most extreme. I think people confuse being proud to be black with being pro-black. I think people are proud to be black.
I don't see how one could exist without the other.
What?
If I'm proud to be black, I'm pro-black. I'm for my people.
Yeah, but some people might say, like, when you look up the definition, it might say only supporting black-owned businesses or only to support everything all black. So when you say pro, it's the most extreme. I'm only buying from black people. I'm only reproducing. I'm only loving black people.
It will be impossible. Yeah. He's pro-black. Do you know what you're saying about everybody else in here?
No,
they're fucking coons.
Some of the talking points when I do have these conversations with other black men or black women is that, procreating is part of being pro-black, right? Procreating with another black person. So some people will say,
before we get into that,
okay,
what would be your description of a pro-black person?
I hate the term pro-black.
Okay.
Because I never heard of a pro-Mexican or pro-Jew. This is how messed up we are. Not you for saying pro-black, but for you to have to define a black person as pro-black. Do you know what that means?
Right.
That automatically means by contraindication that most black people are anti-black. Do you feel me? If I walk and you say he's pro-black, because this is what people say when they see me, it'll be 1,000 blacks. He's pro-black. Do you know what you're saying about everybody else in here?
No,
they're fucking coons. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. We're the only people, the people who are for us are the minority. Think about that. You have to describe people who care about black people as pro-black. No other group has to do that. And it speaks to how much most of us are anti ourselves.
I don't necessarily think that means you're anti-black, because usually when I think the word pro usually is the most extreme of something, right? This is why we got pro-life and everything else. When you put pro in front of something, that means the most extreme. I think people confuse being proud to be black with being pro-black. I think people are proud to be black.
I don't see how one could exist without the other.
What?
If I'm proud to be black, I'm pro-black. I'm for my people.
Yeah, but some people might say, like, when you look up the definition, it might say only supporting black-owned businesses or only to support everything all black. So when you say pro, it's the most extreme. I'm only buying from black people. I'm only reproducing. I'm only loving black people.
It will be impossible to only buy from black people, because we don't manufacture and sell everything that somebody needs in order to survive. For me, pro-black means always putting the best interests of my people first in any situation or any decision that I have to make.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying? You ain't got to be you ain't got to be a black superhero, but I'm going to put my people's interests above anything else in front, above the church, above the mosque, and above other minority groups. My people come first. That's all it means to me. And you ain't got to be extreme with it. You understand me? So people see me when I walk out on the streets, white people will stop and talk. Arabs will stop and talk. I got people who follow my work of every race, and I will respect them as human beings. But when it comes to the struggle, none of your interests matter before my own people, because my people's interests will never matter before yours.
There ain't no way in heaven or hell we gonna go over the second part today, because girl, what? I rewinded that last part because I was like, how you gonna say you hate the term pro-black, but say you can't, if you're proud of your blackness, it's inextricably linked to being pro-black?
Like I told you, he loves to hear himself speak.
He talks in circles. So eventually he will run into contradicting himself every time. But he knows his audience. He knows his base, and we're not his base or his audience, because we can catch when he fumbles over what he was trying to make a point about in the first place.
My head hurts.
They sitting there eating it up. They eating up every word. It's just like a child that you promised candy on Christmas. They eating up every word, mouth out like saliva everywhere, because they're hanging on to every word that this man says. Like, I really would like to know, out of the three men that are sitting there on this podcast, did all three of them grow up with both parents in the home? Like, because we know where the conversation is going to lead to. But it's just like, did y'all grow up with both parents? Like, y'all have a lot to say, and you have a lot of questions about things that you could go and research yourself. But you're hanging onto this man's every word.
Like, every inaccurate word at that.
Right.
Period.
It stresses me out. It stresses me out because, of course, the three of us met on TikTok, and I'm so glad for it because I feel like I've learned so much. But I had to talk to myself and like self, and I was like, you can't be arguing with these people on TikTok because it's gonna stress you out. Trying to get them to be like, why can't you see? Like, wake up! Why can't you see?
I tell them to block me. I was like, you're gonna have to block me because I'm gonna keep going. As long as you continue to be ignorant, I'm going to try to teach you. So you're going to have to block me. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Because I told him, if you are done having the conversation, if you feel like what you're saying is correct, why are you still talking to me? Why am I able to make 2 videos about what you're saying?
Just like it's a light-skinned black lady on TikTok. She lives in Texas. CF story, something of a rather. A lot of her content is about just educating. So a lot of stuff, like when I watch her stuff, is literally, it feels like I'm learning something new that I wasn't aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go.
But so the thing is, it's like I'm very educated.
Very.
I don't know the vast majority of shit on this damn planet. So when someone is speaking with more knowledge than me, I listen. And if there's something that I don't know, I go and research the shit that I don't know. Right. I don't argue them down that they're fucking wrong because I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And that's a problem.
A big problem.
It's constantly a problem. A lot of the ones that want to argue do the exact same thing that Umar does, which is I'm gonna talk over you, I'm gonna yell over you, I'm gonna say what I got to say, regardless if it's right, wrong, or indifferent, just because I gotta prove in this moment that I'm right and you wrong, nanny boo boo. Like that's what we're doing here. That's
so unproductive.
It is.
Because I wasn't raised to not think about community. I was raised in a community-minded family. Now, we can talk about how stuff that should be inside the house ain't that great. But one thing I can say about my family is that we value helping other people. That's why I went to college and law school and studied the things that I studied, because I needed to know these things from my people. And then to find out that the vast majority of my people don't give a goddamn, it's like, wow. That's crazy.
It's not even that they just don't care. It's the fact that the ones that don't care are so vocally loud and wrong. Like, I wish some of these adults would do like what I tell my son. Honey, if you're not going to be helpful, at least be quiet. I tell my 8-year-old that, honey, what is it? I'm angry. Okay, anger's not your only emotion. We need to figure out exactly what you're feeling. Like, are you hungry? Are you sleepy? Are you tired? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Oh, well, listen here. If you're not going to be helpful, at least be quiet. Like, y'all are not helping. And it's becoming, I can't wait till we get to the point where we're matriarchal again. Like, I just can't wait for it. Like, I'm so excited. Like,
life will move so much smoother.
Like it's
life will move so much smoother.
Yeah, I'm over it.
At times, I feel like we're gonna have these conversations. I'm gonna have something intellectual to say, but how the fuck?
You can.
How the fuck?
You can't. You can attempt to.
There's no way.
Where do we go from here? Like,
it's no way possible you can sit down and have an intellectual conversation with someone that's ignorant, and they know that they're ignorant. So at this point, they are now stupid. Because when you are ignorant, I can give you a pass. But when you are doing it on purpose, being ignorant on purpose, that means you are stupid. Meaning you don't want to know anything else. You like what you don't know. And I can't deal with that. So please block me, because I'm not blocking you.
And then it goes back to, okay, so we're having this tangent conversation about you being in your feelings and not understanding what the fuck I just said because you don't have the range. What is this doing to progress us?
Nothing.
And I know they don't care.
They don't want
but it's like, what is the purpose of this besides you just having an emotional hissy fit like a 3-year-old on the live or in the comment section or in my email, in my DMs? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they don't want progression though, Coco.
What?
That's the problem, because progression will require them to be responsible for where they lack. And we absolutely know.
But they want to be the leader so bad. So
no. They only say they want to be the leader because they equate being the leader as a proximity that's closest to the white man, a man that they will never be able to level up to because they can't even seem to do the bare minimum. The bare minimum, they're kicking and screaming and hollering and punching the air over. Like it's not going to work. And at this point, I can't wait until collectively Black women, we all decide to just stop responding to them, because it's nothing that we can say or do that's going to make that be a better situation.
They are looking for a daddy to follow because they don't have one.
And when Kevin died, that was it for them.
So when you hear a man and he sounds so profound, and he sounds highly educated, and he starts telling you the things that he has done professionally, which we could all go and look and see, because he's talking about I'm the only black
girl,
psychologist that's
what
done
kind of fucking soapbox one was that?
I was like, no, you're not. I don't believe it. Because I've never seen you in a positive light. I've always seen you in this. You are always in a bunch of mess. So how are you the first black, psychologist that did all of these great things? Come on now.
But then we'll get on.
Where's some theories at? Because I got tons of psychology books, developmental psychology books, and I don't see his name in here as a behaviorist.
It's not, because, like I said, he does a lot of speed talking around people who listen slow. Like we can't get them to equate that. Hey, maybe, just maybe, what he's saying might not be correct. Like, up until that moment of the clip going viral that we're going to be talking about later on, they're sitting there, they're quiet, they're listening to everything and absorbing everything in like a dry sponge to fresh water. They are taking it all in. And then when a black woman that looks like us, like, y'all are some of the most educated women that I know, but if y'all two were to say something or to say this is how black women feel and we feel like we should move forward, they're going to combat you, because they're so accustomed to arguing down women, especially because they feel like they can dominate and win. They will never be that combative with another man, especially another man of another race. So they want to say they want to be a leader so bad because they equate being a leader to white proximity. That's it. Like, but they don't want to do none of the work or the responsibility or the accountability that it will require for you to be an actual leader.
And they don't understand academically.
They're not there.
And professionally, they're nowhere near white men. Right. Actually, your women are most closely to these white men.
And they don't like that. They hate that.
Right.
They hate black women for that. How dare you go up there and you combat with white men? The same way, it's another girl on TikTok that wear glasses. She just got engaged and her fiance is a white man. And she did a video a few weeks ago. I wish I could remember her name. She did a video a few weeks ago. She's like, y'all don't never ask black men who are with white women, are they truly happy? Why is it that when black women are with white men, you want to question if it's actual happiness or if we just post it on the gram for clicks and likes? Like, y'all, they don't even get it. Even when he was talking about the stuff about being pro-black but dating outside, do you need to address the plethora of black men who say dating anybody but a black woman gets them close proximity to whiteness? Nicholas Cannon sat there and said that, but he also said all his baby mamas was black. So clearly he colorblind too. He sat there and said, oh yeah, get with a white woman is like sticking it to the white man.
Which is real delusional. Delusional as fuck.
When that white man didn't want that white woman.
Hello.
It's like you really think, let's think about this. Right? Europe colonized the entire world. There's hardly any place you can go on this globe without a European stamp on it. Either we speaking English, Spanish, French, some of us speaking German, all types of shit.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere on this globe and participate in the global economy without dealing with Europeans. And you think you fucking a white woman's doing any fucking thing?
He said that
You
with his whole
your
little
dick
bird.
and a white woman is doing anything.
He did that. He said that with his whole chest on that interview with Raza Islam. And Raza just was like, yo, are you serious? Like, you could tell his face. He was like, yo, I'm going to shut up because you're serious. You're serious. Some of them are so twisted. Some of them spent so many years trying to get the white man's woman that they couldn't even figure out how to be there for their black woman and children. But then they
The
want
whole
to be
time
leaders.
the white man is trying to get your woman.
Yeah.
Because your woman looks better than his woman.
More educated than his woman.
Listen,
know how to maneuver.
We can go back in history and pull up the facts.
Rub on a black woman's booty and be so in love and never mention her body part and never mention the fact that he didn't want to be with a white woman because of what a white woman couldn't do for him. He was like, I love being with this black woman. She's my queen. I love everything about her. I love her strength. I love her confidence. I love how she talks. I love how she walks.
How she multitasks. How she's able to pull through things through adversity. I have a white homeboy now. And he only dates black women. And so I asked him, I said, well, now that you're a part of my life, I said, now I got to be nosy and be in your business. Like, so what made you decide that being with black women is it? And his dumbass was like, I dated a white girl one time at 14. He was like, it was the worst week of my life. He was like, I have to tell my mother every day that she will have a black grandchild because I will marry a black woman. I will be with a black woman. And like, he got on TikTok, started getting numbers and stuff. And somebody came to him and was like, you need to stop acting like them. And he said, them who? Like, be specific about what you're trying to say. He's like, because you're not going to disrespect black women. And I was like, we don't even get that type of energy from our own men. Like, at all.
Kenneth is back in the box.
I know we gonna address Kenny right quick because again, I think Kenny is one of them delusional, I'm a good guy people. And then I'm gonna go because my internet kind of glitched and I'm gonna need to decompress from this shit because I gotta work in the morning.
I need to we're gonna shower so I can go to work.
Eucalyptus.
Kenny,
we're gonna address this conversation because there's a lot of y'all black men that love to say that the black community is the matriarchy. And again, it displays that you are uneducated, ignorant, and you refuse to educate yourself.
That part.
So no matter how much money you have, Kenny, no matter what suburb you live in, Kenny, the black community is not a matriarchy.
It's not.
The globe subscribes to patriarchy. And the fact that you nignogs think you all can just be outside of that is wild. So even though black women are actually picking up the pieces of y'all's failed patriarchy, you're sitting in your suburban neighborhood around your white people with your black wife and your black children, participating in the reason why black women have to pick up the pieces of the black community. You said it yourself, Kenny. You got out and you're never going back. So who do you think in your big, strong Negro brain is going to have to pick up the scraps and the pieces from your absence in the hood? Who do you think, Kenny, is going to have to teach the black boys whose fathers already left how to be in this world as a black boy, Kenny? Who do you think is going to have to do that, Kenny? You are actively participating in perpetuating this failed patriarchy by you sitting in the white man's community, making your checks written by white men, taking your money back to your black wife, putting it in white neighborhoods and all the white corporations. So who do you think, Kenny, is going to come and pick up the scraps that you yourself are leaving behind? You think some black man's gonna put on a cape and come and save it? It's not happening. You know how we know it's not happening? It hasn't fucking happened yet. So, Kenny, who do you suggest should put boots on the ground and do the work for the community, if not black women? Because you guys refuse, absolutely refuse. Oh my God, I'm such a leader. I'm the warrior class. But they won't let me do it. They won't let me be a man. So, Kenny, who do you think is going to do the work that you're not doing? Who, Kenny? Who?
Well, not only that, to Kenny's comment about working with white people, honey, y'all always seem to know how to act around white people.
Listen,
y'all always seem to know how to
y'all be the first. Y'all be the first to be a well-mannered buck. The first one.
Can I say as a woman? Can I say as a black woman who got hired by 2 white men as their first hire in their organization, that those white men listened to me?
And do.
Those white men took my advice and they saw how great I was.
Pause. Kenny has a question.
Those white men,
can I answer this question real quick before you finish?
What was Kenny's question?
How is it that it's a failed patriarchy? Because y'all failed. Y'all think just because women are picking up your scraps that it's not a patriarchy? Are you that unaware of the white world you live in when you live in the suburbs? Are you not paying attention, Kenny?
Kenny, why
do you not see the white men taking care of his children and marrying his white woman? Do you not see that the white men put in safety parameters for the white women that don't have a dad for their kids in the form of welfare and public assistance?
Hello.
There should be no way you are this dumb in my comments. Like, you literally are asking questions that have clear reasons that if you simply studied them as a black man who should know his community and how we got here, you're asking dumbass questions. That is, I'm not one of these educators, because, you know, I used to work with kids. I didn't teach them that the dumb questions don't exist. This is a dumbass question. A dumbass question.
And let's be clear. To sit back, because now you sound like the other 3 people that are sitting on this podcast with Umar. You're literally sitting here saying, oh, well, if y'all are running the community, how come the community's not thriving? Because our leaders are not leading. Our leaders are sitting on the internet with Twitter fingers, typing and arguing with women instead of building actual infrastructure for the black community. Our alleged leaders are doing everything but what the hell they supposed to be doing. So while you sit in the suburbs, married to the black woman that y'all going to Comic-Con in a week, have fun, because we didn't ask about any of that information, you still are negating the fact of who are you mentoring? What black boy are you mentoring to? Who are you helping to build back so that they can go back and be actual positivity in the black community that you refuse to go back to? Like, sir, again,
since you're going to go to Comic-Con, how about you cosplay as a productive black man that gives a fuck about himself in his community? Because clearly, on every given day, you are not him. How about you cosplay as someone that brings value to this world? Because obviously, on any given day, you are not him. How about you cosplay, as someone with some goddamn sense? Because obviously, on any given day, you are not him.
And you keep saying that they're not your kids. I mean, I was a preschool teacher, and I had a classroom full of kids. None of those kids were my kids. But guess what? If one of those kids got hurt, I was responsible for those kids.
But he's going to say that you were a teacher and that was part of your job.
Stupid.
He's going to say because you were a teacher, that's part of your job to make sure that those kids are taken care of. That is part of the problem.
But again, she chose to do that. She's choosing to do that. Just like Kenny is choosing to be a nothing ass bitch. It's a choice. Everybody got choices. I'm from the West Coast, E40 on it. Everybody got choices. And right now, Kenny is choosing to be a nothing ass bitch that went to the white man's community and said, I've washed my hands of the black community and my responsibility as a black man, and I'm just gonna sit here and sit on my black ass and do not a damn thing but collect this white man's check and put it back in the white community, and that's it. And just me simply being here and existing is good enough for black folk.
Yes.
You
Oh my
are
God.
a bitch, and I hope your black wife leaves you for a white man. I hope your black wife leaves you for the man that signs your fucking checks.
Kenneth, I just want to say this. You don't have to be a teacher to give back to the community. You know, you don't have to work for a nonprofit organization to give back to the community. If you want to see black people flourish and you want to see us be able to move into the same places that you are in, no, I know he doesn't, but just, you know, I want to feed into this fantasy of his because he feels like something. He's literally not doing anything. Like,
you choose to maintain the streets of your community in the suburbs. Now, let's be fucking for real. We all know if you are actually in the suburbs, because honey, again, I grew up in the suburbs.
I don't want to lose my wife to the
I have never seen a person outside of high school community service children clean up the streets of the suburbs. They have street sweepers. They have lawn care specialists. But never have I ever seen any citizen walking outside their house cleaning up the streets of the suburbs. So either you're lying about being suburban, or now you're just saying shit that it doesn't make sense. Let's be fucking for real and live in this reality.
Right, and God forbid if you are part of any kind of Greek organization in the black community.
Oh my God,
they definitely give back to the community. So who gave you any letters if that is the case?
They absolutely do community service. And
also, you're a sanitation department worker. Let me stop. I'm leaving. I'm done with this. Let me stop because I'm not finna go there.
Too much.
But yes,
communities resources go to building. Hold on. What did Lucy say? Wait a minute. Too much of the black community
resources go to building up black men who then do not reciprocate black women's investment in them. If black women focus on and use their resources only on black women and children, we could elevate.
That's where it's headed. That's where it's
100%.
That is exactly where it's headed. That's why they're punching the air now, because they don't understand how they can't continue to be trash ass individuals, and why we're saying, you know what, you go do you with whatever demographic you choose, and we're gonna make sure that we can rally together and get our lawyers in the movement, get our educators in the movement, get our doctors in the movement. We already got a group of black OBGYNs fighting for the medical rights and health of black women. You over here trying to argue about you not being a big brother to the little boys in the community who need the examples because you probably still playing basketball with their daddies who ain't taking care of them. Like you not helping, sir. And so I'll tell you the same way I tell my child, you're not gonna be helpful. Be quiet.
And listen,
I'm still trying to figure out what a street department is.
He worked for the sanitation department, or he the one that takes pictures of the street, put the lines on the street,
like that.
Yeah. With that being said, they really talk about, oh, we matriarchal, this, that. You wait and see till we actually are matriarchal. If black women were actually matriarchal and not picking up the slack for black men in the hopes they would pick up the slack for themselves and be patriarchal again, if they've ever been that, because as far as I keep going back, I can't find it. But if you guys are actually going to wish this into existence, and when black women actually turn to a matriarchy, and we actually go into protector mode and actual provider mode, and not begrudgingly, but full force, 10 toes down, y'all are going to be left behind. And too bad for y'all. Y'all got any more closing remarks before we go? Because I need to go decompress, bitch. I need to go sage.
All I want to say is this. If anybody is still following Dr. Umar, they are lost souls. It's nothing we can do with them, because this man it has proven that he's not going to produce the things that he said that he wanted to produce. And the things that he said that he wants to produce is not actually benefiting the whole community. It's only benefiting a select few of Black boys. Because I know for a full fact, I, as a Black woman, if I had a Black boy, would never enter into a school that was ran by Umar. I know that for a fact. I'm too smart, both street and intellectually, to put my child, my Black boy, in a school with him. But be blessed. And Kenneth, Godspeed.
Again, I need Kenneth to go check his anti-black microaggressions because Kenny is definitely lost in the anti-black sauce. What you got for us, Amanda? Because
Listen, Kenneth Smith. Listen, honey, sorrows, prayers. Because you still don't get it, and it's not our job to explain it to you. When we say that Black men are the Karens and the white women of the community, you just displayed exactly what we're talking about. If you cannot be helpful, be quiet. If you don't feel the need to give back to the community that you might have came from, be it be suburban or the hood, because everybody at least got two hood cousins. So if you're not going to do anything that's going to benefit the Black community, then just be quiet, honey. This situation with Umar, I can't wait until we do the other part, because I want to see how this lands into the clip of the video or this podcast that went viral. I really would like to see how he could be so wrong and then get to one segment.
you see what I'm saying? Shit just don't be adding up.
That made me so mad. It made me so mad that I agreed with him. I was
me too.
So mad.
Me too.
Oh,
because at the end of the day, if you sit and choose to be willfully ignorant and then still yell and scream and kick and holler and punch the air because you want to be right so bad, even though you've been proven with research and facts that you're wrong,
Kenny,
it's nothing to
back
do
more
about
than
it.
I do.
Leave Kenny alone. Kenny want a cookie so damn bad. Kenny want a cookie from I don't know what, but guess what, Kenny? Take your ass down to the supermarket, get you a cookie, and leave us the fuck alone. Thank you.
Kenny.
Because you don't get
Look,
back
with
more
that
than
being said, I'm finna go. So y'all need to text me because I'm finna be out of town next weekend. So either we can do it. We could either do it on Monday evening, Tuesday afternoon, because that's the 4th, if y'all are free, or we can reconvene in 14 days and do part 2. But I'm open. I drive back on Monday, so probably Monday evening.
I drive back on Sunday, so
I'm probably gonna be in my house.
Okay, so we could do like Monday.
So we could possibly do Monday afternoon, possibly.
Oh my goodness!
Because I haven't thought that far ahead, so I'm probably gonna be in the house.
We'll check in on Wednesday.
Yeah.
No,
Kenny,
it's not because we
you
don't
have
an answer. We just don't want to answer you.
Kenny, at this point,
honey,
I already told you what I did. So if you didn't listen, that's on you.
Let me answer this real quick. What do I do? Because your last comment was probably give back more than you, honey. I've worked in healthcare successfully and consecutively for the last 16 years in every form of healthcare. I have also helped special needs children, special needs adults, handicapped children and adults. I have worked in the hospital. I have done long-term care, short-term care, memory care. I have given back to people even when they didn't know how to wipe their own ass. So I don't have to explain shit to you, sir, while dealing with my own childhood trauma, and I still haven't lashed out at people while I'm dealing with my own trauma. I constantly talk to people and reach out to people and ask how they're doing, because empathy is something that I learned to give to other people. The fact that you seem to think that, oh, you chose the wrong man is the answer, is the exact reason why your mama should have swallowed. So
you should have rested in her esophagus.
You can escort yourself out, Kenny, because we didn't ask for you. We didn't ask when y'all were going to Comic-Con. We didn't ask about the suburbs. We didn't ask about if your wife was black, brown, yellow, blue with glitter on her. We didn't fucking ask. And so since you're so pressed to be seen, sweetheart, you're so pressed. Hi, Kenneth. We see you. We
Come
see
follow us on
listen,
TikTok.
and listen,
Come
listen,
follow us on
listen.
TikTok.
Not
Where
even
is
that.
it
Don't follow me, Kenny. I'm
Guidelines,
probably gonna block your ass. But let me just say this.
Like, I have to
In
explain
addition to
this.
everything that I've said on TikTok about the things that I've actually done for the Black community,
Right.
what I'm not gonna do is sit here and explain shit to you when I graduated from law school with pro bono
Hello.
honors.
Hello.
What I'm not gonna do is sit here and talk to you about anything when my resume has links of the things that I've done that I actually really haven't shared on TikTok. But if I gotta pull up the Carfax, I can pull them hoes up. What can you do?
Then they gonna say you showing off.
He paid streets.
Oh, great.
Girl.
Can you come to the DMV and speed up the paving that hasn't been completed in the last 3
because
years
we're
on Route
suffering.
1? Since
We're
you so
suffering out
healthy?
here.
I'm pretty sure they got them neon yellow highlighter vests for everybody. So I'm pretty sure you can grab you one of those and maybe, get to helping on these streets, sir. The fuck? Like
what we're not gonna do
You
is
can't help me.
we're not
First
doing
off,
this.
I do enough thinking on my own, sir. I don't need you to help me think. Like,
oh my Lord.
I hold
Kenny, where's your wife? Where's your wife?
Right, Kenny. Where is your
Go talk to
wife?
her.
Where is
Damn.
your wife, Kenny?
Where is she
Where
at?
is your
Is she
spouse?
okay? Miss
Where
Kenny's
is your
wife? Is you
spouse?
okay, honey?
I know where my wife is. Do you know where yours is?
Right.
Girl, Kenny,
Please.
look.
Jesus.
I
Like,
hope you don't mind me calling you Kenny because I'm not finna say your full name. Anyway, I'm finna go because I'm finna enjoy the rest of my time
if
of
we stay on
being.
here any longer,
we
one of
gonna
us
go
is gonna
left
rip
and we
into
gonna miss
him.
the whole point. Our whole point gonna be missed because it's gonna turn into a roast session. And ain't nobody got time. Kenny, sorrows.
Yeah, because
Ooh, I gotta go prepare my
I have to
mind
get
for
better
these
because
life ends, honey.
hold on, let me say this. I have to go now because I need to get better because I have to go to a job that actually helps people get high paying jobs so they won't be living in poverty. That's what I
Not
have to
your
do.
wife at work at 8:00 at night on a Sunday.
Unless she a nurse.
Sorry for that woman.
Oh, Jesus.
Is she a nurse?
All right, YouTube. Thank y'all for joining me. Let me know how y'all feel in the comments. We'll probably be back on Monday or Tuesday.
Let us know how you feel in the comments. It's not Kenny. Let's be specific. Because Kenny keeps telling us how he feels in the comments, and I think we need to be specific.
Not so the streets are important. You don't give a fuck about the damn streets.
They are important. They get me to point A and point B to the job that I work for to help people in my community so they can start living a decent wage.
Is that how you do?
Anywho, we're gonna let Kenny go back to collecting cans, and I'll see y'all next time.